Chapter 648. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. The Lingbo Academy's boxing field was built very carefully. The stands on both sides were slightly higher and had a relatively wide field of vision. The front and back were ordinary stands with only benches and no sheds. The closer to the middle, the better, and the more luxurious the stands were. It was no exaggeration to say that the stand was the best in the whole field. It was big and bright, and there were jade bead curtains on all sides. It looked like an elegant and luxurious pavilion. Wow! The 3 female students who came with Xiaoheng were stunned. This is too extravagant. There were already maids waiting in the pavilion. Seeing Xiaoheng and little Jing Kong coming over, 2 maids quickly opened the curtains in front. "Miss Gu, please." Xiaoheng and the others entered. It looked luxurious from the outside, but when they went in, they realized that there was nothing that they couldn't think of. A few short tables had already been set up, and there was a light incense burning in the corner. They were afraid that the smell of sweat in the boxing field would be too strong due to the hot weather, so even the incense was lit. The 3 female students were once again impressed by the other party's attention and thoughtfulness. "Who is your young master?" a female student asked the maid. The maid came forward with fresh fruits and answered with a smile. "My young master said that as long as you are happy, you don't have to care about who he is." Ladies. They were also included, and the 3 female students were overjoyed. The original words only mentioned Miss Gu, but they couldn't resist the maid's good manners. The melons and fruits had been chilled, so with one bite, the heat from the heat dissipated. Xiaoheng and little Jing Kong sat together, and the other 3 female students sat together. There was still an empty short table, so little Jing Kong ran over and took it for himself. This way he had 1.5 tables. The bead curtains in front of the pavilion were hung up, and the other 3 curtains were used to block the wind. "It's so cool," a female student said. The other 2 nodded with a smile. It seemed that they had found the right person to look for Gu Jiao. Otherwise, how could they have gotten such good seats? Xiaoheng did not pay attention to the seats in the stands. From the moment he entered the arena, he began to look for Gu Jiao. He wasn't sure if Gu Jiao would participate. After all, he had never heard of her knowing how to use the bow. But he was worried about her, so he came over to try his luck. He didn't see Gu Jiao, but he saw Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan diagonally opposite him. They sat beside Headmaster Tsin, which meant that they had received Headmaster Tsin's special attention. The rest of the students sat on the bleachers. When Xiaoheng saw Gu Yan, he more or less knew that Gu Jiao was here. Otherwise, with Gu Yan's health and personality, he would never come to watch the fun for someone else. Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan sat on Headmaster Tsin's bleachers. There was a shed on top of the bleachers, but it couldn't be compared to Xiaoheng's pavilion. There were also no iced fruits to eat. Soon little Jing Kong also saw the 2 of them. "Yaya! Brother Yan! Brother Xiaoshan!" Little Jing Kong was so excited that he jumped on the spot. I want to go to play." "Little Gongzi, where do you want to go?" "I'll bring you there." A maid smiled gently and said, "I'll go by myself." Little Jing Kong ran out. Halfway through, he turned back and picked up the iced fruits on the table. He said to his bad brother-in-law, "I'm leaving." He wanted to bring them to Brother Yan and Brother Xiaoshan. Xiaoheng didn't stop him. He couldn't have any interactions with Gu Jiao on the surface, but little Jing Kong was very familiar with people wherever he went. He wouldn't arouse suspicion. Moreover, it was really hot. Xiaoheng looked at the fruits on the table. His hands were too small, so he couldn't carry more. He kept looking until little Jing Kong made Headmaster Tsin laugh, and successfully entered the inner circle. Then he retracted his gaze and continued to pay attention to the situation on the golf course. The golf course was about to start. He didn't know when Tianqiong Academy would come out. In the attic outside the golf course, Wu Fuzi had just finished drawing lots and returned to Tianqiong Academy's wing room. Gu Jiao, Mu Qingchen, and the others had already put on protective gear, and were wiping the golf clubs in their hands. "It's the 3rd round, Wu Fuzi said. "Who are we going up against this time? Is it Wu Yue Academy?" Yuan Xiao asked. Yuan Xiao was a student of Bright Maple Hall, and was from Xingdu of Yin Kingdom. He and Zhao Wei from Bright Moon Hall were defenders, and Zhao Wei was from Chidu of Yin Kingdom. Wu Fuzi said, Wuyue Academy is in the 7th round. We're going up against Qingyue Academy this time. Other than Gu Jiao and Mu Qingchen, the others couldn't stay calm at the mention of Qingyue Academy. Yuan Xiao was at his wit's end. Why is it Qingyue Academy? It's better to go up against Wuyue Academy. Gu Jiao looked at Mu Qingchen in confusion. Mu Qingchen paused and explained, some of the students from Qingyue Academy are from the Royal Golf Course team. Gu Jiao said, oh. Mu Qingchen looked at her deeply. Aren't you afraid? Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. I'm afraid they won't let me win. Mu Qingchen was speechless. He couldn't refute her words. Zhao Wei, what's wrong with you? Wu Fuzi sensed something was wrong with Zhao Wei. Zhao Wei clutched his stomach and said with a pale face, I think I ate something bad. Gu Jiao walked over and pinched Zhao Wei's wrist to check his pulse. What did you eat this morning? Zhao Wei endured the pain in his stomach and said, I ate 2 buns. Gu Jiao pressed his stomach. Does it hurt here? No. How about here? It doesn't hurt either. You did eat something bad. Gu Jiao withdrew her hand and took out a bottle of powder from the first aid kit. Swallow it with water. Zhao Wei took the medicine. On the other side, the first round of the competition began. Lingbo Academy versus Mongshan Academy. Lingbo Academy won. The second round was Maple Academy versus Wutong Academy. Wutong Academy won. It's our turn, Mu Qingchen said to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao nodded slightly and mounted her horse. She went up the field with her classmates from Tianqiong Academy. There were a total of 2 entrances. Qingyue Academy went up first. When the royal bowler rode out in high spirits, the entire field was in an uproar. Immediately after were the 3 other team members. They were also dragons and phoenixes among men. Every time one of them appeared, Mu Qingchen introduced one to Gu Jiao. Royal bowler Su Ping, good at long-range attacks. His tactics are extremely good. No one can snatch the ball from under his stick. Tong Peng, bowler for 10 years. Nangong Lin, bowler for 8 years. Someone from the Nangong family? Gu Jiao narrowed her eyes slightly. The young master of the Nangong family, Mu Qingchen said. Gu Jiao's gaze landed on the confident and arrogant young man who waved at the audience from time to time. Nangong Lin. When the 4th person appeared, Mu Qingchen's lips moved slightly. Gu Jiao had been observing Nangong Lin, and didn't notice Mu Qingchen's strange behavior. Su Hao, Mu Qingchen said. Gu Jiao acknowledged. Soon it was their turn to go on stage. Mu Qingchen walked at the front. Young Master Qingchen was famous in Chengdu. The moment he appeared, the limelight instantly overshadowed everyone from Qingyue Academy. The young ladies present all screamed, Young Master Qingchen. It's really Young Master Qingchen. I can't believe I can see Young Master Qingchen in my lifetime. Young Master Qingchen. Young Master Qingchen. Xiao Heng's eardrums were about to explode. His 3 classmates in the pavilion were about to flip the roof off. Yuan Xiao and Mu Chuan followed behind Mu Qingchen. The 2 of them were also handsome men, but with Mu Qingchen in front, no matter how handsome and mighty they could only serve as a foil to Mu Qingchen. Fortunately, they were used to it. Gu Jiao was the last to appear. She was new here and didn't have much fame. Only the birthmark on her left face made people take a second look. The players from both sides met in the center of the field. Royal bowler Su Ping looked at Mu Qingchen and said, I can finally experience Young Master Qingchen's skills. I'm really lucky, Mu Qingchen said calmly. You're welcome. Su Hao smiled and looked at them. His gaze fell on Mu Qingchen's face, and he said with a smile, 4th brother. So you're here to participate too? Why didn't you say so earlier? If father knew, he would definitely put aside his work and come to watch 4th brother's competition. When Gu Jiao heard this, she remembered that Mu Qingchen said that his name was Su Hao. He was also a member of the Su family. Mu Chuan, who was at the side, explained to Gu Jiao in a low voice, the 3rd young master of the Su family, my 4th brother's illegitimate brother. My aunt was angry that my uncle actually gave birth to an illegitimate son, so in a fit of anger, she made my 4th brother take her surname. This Su Hao is so annoying. He's always jealous of my fourth brother. But no matter how jealous he is, it's useless. My fourth brother is the legitimate son. So what if he changed his surname? He's still the legitimate son. My uncle dotes on my fourth brother. One could tell. Su Hao's words couldn't hide his envy and jealousy towards Mu Qingqian. Nan Gonglin didn't have any personal grudges with Mu Qingqian. It was just that he was also a little jealous of Mu Qingqian. He sneered and said, I heard that Tianqiong Academy has been quite arrogant recently. They even bullied Five Mountains Academy. There was such a thing. The son of the deputy general of the Nangong family was seriously injured by Gu Jiao. From Nan Gonglin's tone, it seemed like he wanted to seek revenge for his own people. It's you, right, kid? Nan Gonglin looked at Gu Jiao disdainfully. The birthmark on Gu Jiao's face was too easy to recognize. Nan Gonglin smiled threateningly. Horses have no eyes, be careful not to fall. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are also updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all the novels with connotations that can't be found online here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1078311627. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Pen Fun Pavilion Mobile Version Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 649. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. On the other side, Second Master Jing finally arrived at Lingbo Academy. He didn't leave late, but he didn't expect so many people to come to watch the boxing competition. It caused the roads to Lingbo Academy to be blocked. By the time he entered the academy, the first 2 matches were already over. Why are there so many people? He muttered with sweat all over his forehead. At this moment, he had already arrived at the back of the viewing platform he had reserved. He was only a dozen steps away from reaching the viewing platform. He was a martial artist and was stronger than ordinary people. He grabbed his eldest brother along with his wheelchair and walked up the stairs step by step. Second Madam ordered a manservant to quickly follow. Second Master Jing was a person who knew how to enjoy life. He wasn't going to sit there and watch the competition in a daze and let the sun roast him. He ordered the servants to bring ice cubes, chilled fruits, and all kinds of sweet and refreshing refreshments. The viewing platform he chose naturally had an excellent view. It allowed him to see the entire boxing field. There was a roof on top, like a small pavilion, and it was ventilated on all sides. No, it was 3 sides. On his left side, there was a beaded curtain of broken jade hanging down from the place next door. He didn't ask anyone to prepare a curtain, so it must have been done by the people next door. Who is next door? Using such a high-quality curtain? Others might not know how to identify these broken jade, but how could he not recognize them? These weren't ordinary broken pieces of jade. They were whole pieces of jade that had been cut and polished into various shapes. Together with high-quality Eastern pearls, they were simply priceless, okay? Second Master Jing curiously looked to the left. Although there was a gap in the beaded curtain, it still blocked some of the view. Second Master Jing could only vaguely recognize that the people sitting next door were Fort Songlan Women's Academy students. One of the students had a straight back. Her bearing and temperament were excellent. She was noble and extraordinary, exuding the aura of a flower on a high mountain. This little beauty is a bit, Second Master Jing couldn't say. At this moment, perhaps because she felt Second Master Jing's gaze, the little beauty actually turned her head to look at him. Their gazes met across the bead curtain. That was a glance that seemed to come from the peak of a snowy mountain. Second Master Jing only felt that his heart had been shaken by someone. It was too cold. This kind of beauty couldn't be touched. However, there were 3 other little beauties next door, and their figures were also extremely graceful. especially when the three of them were chatting and laughing. The curtains could block the line of sight but not sound. The young girl's laughter could be heard and Second Master Jing felt comfortable all over. This is life. Second Master Jing sat down on the cushion in the middle of the pavilion and placed the Duke's wheelchair beside him. Xiaoheng didn't pay too much attention to which family's men had come next door. His attention once again returned to the boxing field. The bowers from the Tianqiong Academy entered the arena. Xiaoheng immediately saw Gu Jiao, who was ranked 4th. He also saw the young man who was whispering to Gu Jiao. Thanks to his 3 female classmates, he knew that the young man was called Mu Chuan, the legitimate son of the Mu clan and ranked 5th in the clan. Young Master Qingchen, who had caused a sensation, was his aunt's son and the legitimate son of the Su clan. Xiaoheng didn't know why he didn't take his father's surname, but his mother's. After that, the two sides greeted each other. The people from the Qingyue Academy were very arrogant. Su Ping from the imperial family's Bower team was arrogant, and the young man named Nangong Lin by his side was also not to be outdone. Nangong Lin said something to Gu Jiao and frowned slightly. Why did the people from the Nangong clan find Gu Jiao? Could it be that the identity of Xiao Lulang had been exposed? With the beating of the gongs and drums, the match between the two sides began. Mu Qingchen and Su Ping drew lots. Su Ping got the chance to play the first ball and fiercely hit the ball. Each game was divided into 8 sections, each section lasting for half a quarter of an hour. If someone committed a foul or was injured in the middle, the game would be paused and continued after the match was settled. Both sides had 3 chances to change players. Su Ping was indeed an expert in long-range attacks. His shot was extremely far and crossed the center line in an instant. Everyone rushed toward the Tianqiong Academy's ball hole, without stopping to rest. Su Hao hooked the ball on the ground and passed it to Tong Peng, who was not far away. The ball seemed impossible to catch, but not only did Tong Peng catch it, but he also passed the ball to Nangong Lin at lightning speed. Nangong Lin was the assistant attacker. He could pass the ball to Su Ping or score by himself. Judging from the current situation on the field, the probability of him scoring by himself was very high. But at this moment, Mu Qingchen caught up. Nangong Lin saw that the situation was not good. He quickly hit the ball and passed it to Su Ping. Su Ping didn't choose to use the club to dribble the ball. Instead, he directly threw the club and swung it out. The ball drew a beautiful arc in the air and accurately entered the hole. Beautiful. Second Master Jing clapped his hands. He was indeed a member of the royal family's archer team. That move just now was too wonderful. Gu Jiao tilted her head and looked at Su Ping. Well, he could play like that. Qingyue Academy won the first flag. The first section was not over yet, so the game continued. This time, Tianqiong Academy started the game. Yuan Xiao, you're up, Mu Qingchen said. I'm nervous. Yuan Xiao was suppressed by the opponent's tactics and aura. Mu Qingchen said, it's okay. Just hit the ball. Yuan Xiao swallowed his saliva and resisted the trembling of his hands. He swung the club first. Mu Chuan quickly followed. Mu Qingchen glanced at Gu Jiao. He didn't say anything, but all the trust in her was written in his eyes. Then he didn't even look to see whether his team members had caught the ball or not. He rushed toward the opponent's hole. Second Master Jing was stunned. Are you kidding me? Isn't that too bold? What if the ball is intercepted and you run so far away? How can you save the game? Nangong Lin and Su Hao exchanged glances. The two of them rushed toward Mu Chuan in a pincer attack. They wanted to interfere with Mu Chuan and make sure he couldn't catch the ball without fouling. Mu Chuan was attacked from both sides. He cried out, you two bastards. Why are you coming at me? Nangong Lin's lips curled up, and he went to snatch Mu Chuan's ball. He was very fast, but someone was faster than him. He didn't even see what was going on before a club took Mu Chuan's ball away. Nangong Lin was slightly stunned. He turned his head and saw Gu Jiao's indifferent expression. Gu Jiao glanced at him indifferently. Without saying a word, she threw the club and hit the ball in her hand with a backhand. Everyone was stunned. Wait, wasn't this the same move that Su Ping used just now? Even the action of throwing the club and catching it with a backhand was exactly the same. Was Su Ping being secretly learned on the spot? Su Ping was shocked. This was a unique skill that he had practiced for many years. It was handsome and valiant. Not only could it be used to win, but it could also be used to show off. No one had ever learned it. How did this kid learn it? He was quite good at it. Xiao Heng stared at Gu Jiao without blinking. Under the sunlight, his girl was very eye-catching. His blood was boiling. Gu Jiao's ball was also very far away. It was very similar to Su Ping's curve. Mu Qingchen successfully got the ball and held it in. Tianqiong Academy got a flag. At the end of the first section, both sides got a piece each. This result was somewhat unexpected. Although Mu Qingchen was the first young master of Sheng City, no one had heard that he had any extraordinary talent in archery. No one expected him to play so well. However, the one who left the deepest impression was probably the kid with the birthmark on his face. How could he be so brazen as to steal their skills? How could he be so shameless? Just when everyone thought that Gu Jiao was already very shameless, she did something even more shameless. In the following game, as long as Nan Gonglin attacked, she would stop and not give a single ball to Nan Gonglin. However, as long as Su Ping attacked, she would watch obediently. Not only did she not snatch the ball, but she also did not allow her companions to snatch it. She was very fierce. Su Ping was like a child that she was quietly protecting. Every time he scored a goal, the light of excitement could be seen in her eyes. Then, with a turn of her head, she used Su Ping's moves one by one. Su Ping's face turned green. "Referee," he shouted. "Can't I learn?" Gu Jiao asked innocently. The referee choked. "There was no such rule. You can learn from me." Gu Jiao looked at Su Ping and said shamelessly. Su Ping almost vomited blood. "Learn from you? What is there to learn? You little noob." However, it was this thick-skinned noob who learned all of Su Ping's skills. The referee couldn't bear to watch. Dean Sin of Tianqiong Academy was strongly despised by the other deans. He raised his hand and weakly covered his head. "Cough, I stole from you based on my ability. If you have the ability you can steal from me too. Can we King steal from you? Do you think we haven't stolen from you before? We don't know how to steal from you. What kind of pervert is this kid?" When it was Su Ping's turn to kick off, he suddenly sneezed due to his nose allergy. Then Gu Jiao also sneezed loudly with the cue stick before kicking off. Everyone. At the end of the sixth section, the score was 17-17. It was a tie. Gu Jiao did not score many goals. She usually passed the ball to Mu Qingchen, but she became the focus of the game with her ability. "Why is he like this?" In Xiao Heng's pavilion, a female student muttered. Another female student said, "But I'm so happy to see young Master Qingchen win." A third female student said with a smile, "That's right. They cooperate so well. They're so compatible." Xiao Heng's face darkened. Next door, second Master Jing was also shocked by Gu Jiao's actions. He had watched bowls for many years, but this was the first time he had seen someone so brazenly steal from him. "Big brother, did you see that? This kid. Oh my God." Halfway through his sentence, second Master Jing turned his head and saw that his big brother's eyes were open. His eyes were bright and clear. He was so scared that he fell to the ground. He was just complaining to his big brother. He didn't think that his big brother could really open his eyes. It was very scary, okay? No. He calmed himself down and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He sat back on the cushion with lingering fear. "Big brother, when did you open your eyes? You should at least make a sound. It seems like you don't know how to make a sound. Forget it." His big brother was like a zombie. He couldn't hear him. Occasionally he would open his eyes, but it was just an unintentional movement. He couldn't see at all. He understood all of this. "Big brother, are you hot? Do you want me to fan you?" As he spoke, he picked up the folding fan on the table and stretched it in front of his big brother. The High Duke's vision was completely blocked by the fan. As second Master Jing fanned himself, he suddenly felt a chill on his neck. "Why does it feel like someone wants to kill me?" The seventh round of the competition began. Su Ping didn't know if it was because he didn't have any special skills to let Gu Jiao learn, or because he didn't dare to use his special skills. In short, he played relatively conservatively in this round. He thought that Gu Jiao would be as conservative as him. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Gu Jiao only learned the good things. She didn't learn the bad things. Tianqiong Academy launched an attack and won 2 chess pieces in a row. Qingyue Academy stopped the competition. Change players. Nan Gonglin and the rest returned to the waiting area. Qingyue Academy's teacher said, "How did you guys play? Why didn't you attack?" Su Ping was speechless. The teacher said, "Su Ping, take a rest first. You can play in the last round." Su Ping sighed. Yes. Qingyue Academy's substitute was also a good archer. However, he was better at defense. Thus, Nan Gonglin took over Su Ping's position and became the main archer. He looked coldly at Gu Jiao on the field. He wouldn't let this kid have his way. He would definitely score and win this game. "I'm going to the toilet," he said to the teacher. "Go hurry up. It's time to play," the teacher reminded. Yes. Nan Gonglin left the waiting area. Tianqiong Academy's people were waiting on the other side. He snapped his fingers. An accompanying secret guard came to him and cupped his hands. "Young master." Nan Gonglin looked at Gu Jiao and said coldly, "I want him to fall off the horse." The secret guard hesitated. "This," Nan Gonglin said coldly. "Why? Can't you do it?" The secret guard cupped his hands. "I can do it." Nan Gonglin smiled proudly. "That's good. Remember, make it look like he accidentally fell off the horse. Don't let anyone see through it." The secret guard replied, "Yes, young master." After the break, they went on the field again. Nan Gonglin stood in the position of the main attacker. Mu Qingchen looked at him deeply and reminded Gu Jiao, "Be careful." Gu Jiao replied calmly, "Okay." The game started. Qingyue Academy kicked off. Nan Gonglin got the ball. Gu Jiao rode on the horse and chased after him. Nan Gonglin was not in a hurry to throw the ball. Instead, he dribbled the ball and led Gu Jiao to the secret guard's position. The spectators who could not get a seat stood at the edge of the field. The secret guard was hidden in this group of people. Everyone was so engrossed in the game that no one noticed that he was holding a small stone in his hand. At this moment, Second Master Jing had already stood up and leaned on the railing. He also pushed his eldest brother out. The secret guard was diagonally below them. If he glanced at him, he would definitely see him. However, the game on the field was so exciting. Who would pay attention to a group of spectators? The High Duke's hand began to twitch slightly. "Quick, quick, quick. Quickly chase after him. You're quite good at beating people up. Why are you so weak now?" Second Master Jing shouted at Gu Jiao. He did not notice his eldest brother's strange behavior. The High Duke's body also began to tremble violently. "Second Master." The High Duke. The servant noticed the High Duke's strange behavior. Second Master Jing hurriedly looked at his eldest brother. Seeing his eldest brother trembling like this, he was frightened. He squatted down and held his eldest brother's wheelchair. "Eldest brother, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" The High Duke's mouth twitched, as if he wanted to say something. Second Master Jing scratched his head. "Is the game too intense? You don't like it? Let's watch a little longer, okay? Just a little longer." Nan Gonglin ran to the inner circle and squeezed Gu Jiao out. The secret guard was about to make a move. The High Duke trembled like a sieve. His gaze was as cold as ice. Was eldest brother angry? Second Master Jing was confused. He did not know if his guess was right. But on second thought, other than this, could there be anything else? Second Master Jing stood up and pushed his eldest brother's wheelchair. He sighed. Fine, fine, fine. If you don't want to watch, I'll bring you back now." The High Duke trembled even more. Second Master Jing suddenly had an illusion. Why did it seem like his eldest brother wanted to kill him? Nan Gonglin slowed down slightly so that the secret guard could hit the ball smoothly. Gu Jiao appeared in the perfect attacking range. The secret guard suddenly shot the small stone in his hand. The small stone went straight for Gu Jiao's major acupuncture point on her waist. It would not leave a scar or be fatal. It would only numb half of Gu Jiao's body. In the next second, something unbelievable happened. Gu Jiao suddenly bent down to snatch the ball. The secret guard's expression changed. It was too late to stop her. The small stone flashed past Gu Jiao's back and hit Nan Gonglin, who was at the side. Nan Gonglin did not even have time to scream. His body went numb, and he fell off the horse in a panic. And because he had slowed down, the bowmen behind him had caught up. They were Muchuan and the Qingyue Academy students. Muchuan's horse was not as fast as the Qingyue Academy students. But because the Qingyue Academy students were too fast, it was too late to tighten the reins. The Qingyue Academy students watched helplessly as their horses stepped over Nan Gonglin's body. They heard a shocking scream. Nan Gonglin's chest and leg bones were broken on the spot. Digression. Jiao Jiao has a serious competition today. Can I reward Jiao Jiao with a monthly ticket? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1078111653. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 650. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. After Nan Gonglin was trampled by the horse's hooves, Muchuan quickly tightened the reins in his hands. He didn't run at his maximum speed. With the tight reins, he managed to deviate his direction and galloped past Nan Gonglin. After galloping for more than 10 steps, his horse finally came to a stop. The situation between him and the Qingyue Academy student was like this. Gu Jiao went to snatch Nan Gonglin's ball, and he chased after her relentlessly. He wanted to attack Nan Gonglin from both sides with Gu Jiao. In order to prevent him from doing so, the Qingyue Academy student suddenly sped up and tried to use his horse to block his path. Who would have thought that something like this would happen? After Nan Gonglin's shrill scream, the entire venue fell silent. The referee hurried over. He squatted down and looked at Nan Gonglin, whose face was contorted in pain. He was shocked for a moment. Nan Gonglin, how are you? What else could Nan Gonglin do? He was in so much pain that he wanted to die, okay? He was a martial artist and had suffered a lot of physical pain since he was young. However, he had never been so ruthless. His entire chest seemed to have caved in, and the bones in his thighs were broken. Every breath he took felt like a knife was stabbing into his lungs. Nan Gonglin's secret guard was also stunned. He swore to the heavens that he was aiming at that guy from Tianqiong Academy. He had never thought of hurting his young master. Gu Jiao's horse also stopped. She rode over slowly and looked down at the seriously injured Nan Gonglin. Oh, you're injured. Can you still play in the competition? Listen. What kind of tone was this? Was she gloating? Nan Gonglin glared at Gu Jiao with bloodshot eyes as he suffered from the excruciating pain. He said to the referee, "It's him. He's the one who harmed me." The referee looked at Gu Jiao. When the audience heard this, they all looked at the new student from Tianqiong Academy. Muchuan refuted. Hey, Nan Gonglin. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. How did the people of the Tianqiong Academy harm you? You were the one who fell down. Was it someone from your own academy who stepped on you? What does that have to do with us? The student who stepped on Nan Gonglin was at a loss. I didn't do it on purpose. Of course, Nan Gonglin knew that he didn't do it on purpose, but this Xiao Lulang must have. Nan Gonglin gritted his teeth and said, "Why did you suddenly bend over to grab the ball?" He didn't snatch it earlier or later. Instead, he followed him all the way. Whenever he schemed against him, he would snatch it. Who would dare to say that there was nothing fishy going on? Gu Jiao said confidently, "You slowed down, so of course I have to snatch the ball." Everyone paused. That's right, Nan Gonglin did suddenly slow down just now. If they didn't snatch it when he slowed down, were they supposed to snatch it when Nan Gonglin accelerated? Was there something wrong with his head? There was no problem with the Tianqiong Academy's operation. You. Nan Gonglin vomited a mouthful of blood. It was unknown whether it was due to injury or anger. Why did Nan Gonglin slow down? Wasn't it to make it easier for the secret guards to sneak an attack on Gu Jiao? He couldn't explain it even if he still couldn't figure it out now. He was wondering why this kid took the bait so easily. Wherever he led, he would follow. He didn't even snatch the ball all the way. This kid clearly snatched the ball quite quickly in front of him. He thought that it was because his skills were superb that this kid couldn't snatch it. Now, it seemed that this kid did it on purpose. He saw that Nan Gonglin was going to scheme against him, so he pretended to fall into the trap and revealed a flaw. At the crucial moment, he let Nan Gonglin fall into his trap. But Nan Gonglin couldn't say any of this. If he wanted to prove that this kid was scheming against him, he had to admit that he was scheming against this kid. Cheating would make him lose the right to participate in the competition forever. It would also make him the laughingstock of the whole city. He couldn't afford to lose this face. Therefore, he could only swallow his pride. After Nan Gonglin vomited another mouthful of blood, his consciousness started to blur, and his breathing became difficult and rapid. Could Gu Jiao cure him? The answer was yes, but why would she cure him? Was she going to wait for him to come over and kill her? If she hadn't dodged just now, she would be the one with broken bones and a pneumothorax. Mu Qingchen rode his horse to Gu Jiao's side and asked in a low voice, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Gu Jiao said. Mu Qingchen glanced at Nan Gonglin, who was being carried off, and said to Gu Jiao, "Focus on the competition. Don't think too much." "Okay." Gu Jiao nodded. After Nan Gonglin was carried off the field, his companion who stepped on him also had a mental breakdown. He couldn't continue the competition, and was replaced by a teacher from Qingyue Academy. After such a big incident, it was reasonable to say that the mentality of the students from Tianqiong Academy should be somewhat affected. However, it wasn't. It was just that they were all quite thick-skinned. The 7th section ended with Tianqiong Academy winning another flag. The score was 20-17. Qingyue Academy was 17. In the last section, Su Ping went on the field. He had to score 3 goals to equalize the score. If there was only one Xiao Lulang or only one Mu Qingchen, he could give it a try. However, it was a bit difficult to deal with the two of them together. That guy called Xiao Lulang was 2F** king annoying. If he used his unique skill, he was afraid that the guy would steal it. If he didn't use his unique skill, he was afraid that he would lose the competition. Su Ping had never played such a difficult game. In the end, Su Ping decided to go all out. Then a strange scene happened. Not only did the 4 players from Tianqiong Academy not fight for the ball, they even fed it to Su Ping. "Your shot wasn't good." Su Ping almost couldn't catch it. Mu Chuan said to the students from Qingyue Academy after feeding Su Ping a ball. The students from Qingyue Academy were confused. Wait, what kind of move was that? The students from Tianqiong Academy looked at Gu Jiao with this expression. Anyway, she was leading by 3 flags. There was no hurry. She could learn slowly. It didn't matter if she lost points. Su Ping was so angry that he almost had a heart attack. What kind of experience was it when the opponents were collectively shameless? Indeed, only Su Ping could defeat Su Ping. Gu Jiao performed superbly. Using the Su style and Mu Qingchen's strong combination, they finally won the competition with a score of 23-20. This might not be the most perfect battle strategy, nor was it the most difficult battle, but it was definitely the most talked about battle. Young Master Qingchen's appearance was killer. A freshman from Tianqiong Academy stole from the opponent and crushed the opponent. Was this the distortion of human nature, or the decay of morality? Young Master Nangong fell off the horse and was seriously injured. His life was uncertain, and his future was uncertain. Although there were many outstanding and famous scenes in the competition after that, the crowd didn't seem to be as excited as they had imagined. Was there something wrong with Tianqiong Academy? After seeing their shameless fighting style, looking at other people's fighting style, they felt a little too serious. Something was wrong with them. 4th brother, congratulations on entering the next round of the competition. In the attic for the players to rest, Su Hao came to Tianqiong Academy's room and congratulated Mu Qingqian with a smile. Mu Chuan raised his eyebrows and said, "What's there to congratulate? Come and congratulate us after we get first place." So fourth brother's goal is to get first place. Su Hao smiled and said to Mu Qingqian, "Then I'll congratulate fourth brother in advance for getting first place. If father knows, he will definitely be happy for fourth brother." Fourth brother once said that he would never bow again. Father has been sad for a long time because of this. Why won't he bow again? Gu Jiao asked. Su Hao turned to look at Gu Jiao and said pleasantly, "My fourth brother once lost to someone, and then he swore never to bow again." "I didn't ask you," Gu Jiao said to Su Hao. Su Hao was stunned. They relied on their strength. They lost because of their strength. What kind of heart-wrenching truth was this? The guy from Wuyue Academy was so angry that he walked away with smoke coming out of his 7 orifices. "Take care. I won't send you off." Mu Chuan smiled and waved his hand. "Sigh, I can finally hold my head high. I was bullied by those bastards in the past. It's a pity that I didn't meet them today. Otherwise, I would have beaten them to a pulp." Mu Qingqian looked at him speechlessly and said to Gu Jiao, "Shall we take the carriage or ride the horse?" "Ride the horse." It was very stuffy in the carriage. They got on the horses. After Gu Yan, Dinsen, and the others got on the carriage, they left Lingbo Academy together. "Is it okay?" Gu Jiao asked Gu Yan. Gu Yan leaned against the window and nodded at Gu Jiao, who was riding the horse beside him. "Yes, it's good. I'll come again next time." Gu Jiao twirled the reins in her hand. "Okay." On the other side, second Master Jing also got on the carriage and came out. He had a feast for his eyes today. He enjoyed watching the competition. It was even more enjoyable to watch the competition with the little beauties next door. Listening to the 3 girls talking and laughing, he felt that he was more than 10 years younger. This is what life is like. "It's so hot." Second Master Jing opened the window and hung up the front curtain. He and his eldest brother were both men. There was no need to avoid being seen by others. It was too hot. He moved a small stool and sat at the door of the carriage. He fanned himself with his folding fan. At this moment, Dinsen and the others came over. Dinsen and Mu Qingqian recognized the House of Duke's carriage. Dinsen stopped the carriage and bowed to the 2 people in the carriage. "Duke, second Master Jing." Mu Qingqian also greeted them. Second Master Jing was panicking from the heat. He waved his hand perfunctorily and exchanged a few words with the 2. Behind him, the Duke's hand shook again. Unfortunately, he did not see it. "Then if there's nothing else, we'll take our leave," Dinsen said. "Goodbye." Second Master Jing smiled. Dinsen looked at Gu Jiao. "Let's go." The group of people brushed past the House of Duke's carriage. No one expected that the Duke in the wheelchair would suddenly have blue veins on his forehead. No one knew where he got the strength, but he suddenly threw the wheelchair at Second Master Jing. Ah! Second Master Jing was caught off guard. He fell out of the carriage and rolled on the ground. Coincidentally, he rolled in front of Gu Jiao's horse. Second Master Jing, who fell flat on his face, was speechless. "Eldest brother, do you have to trick your younger brother like this?" Gu Jiao looked at Second Master Jing strangely. Then, she looked at the Duke, who fell out of the wheelchair. She saw the Duke, who was unable to move in the carriage. Suddenly, his mouth twitched and his eyes slanted. It was as if he was saying, "I fell so miserable." Digression regarding the rules of bowing in the novel. It is based on the rules of modern polo matches. However, it is not exactly the same. There are some changes. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/1078069550. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. M. ZHHBQG. Com. Chapter 651. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Everyone was stunned by the Duke's miserable state. Whether he fell or was miserable, they didn't understand at the moment. Their minds were filled with one thought. Wasn't the Duke unconscious? Did he get better? The news of the Duke falling and becoming a living dead wasn't a secret in the capital. All these years, in order to wake the Duke up, the Duke's residents had visited many famous doctors. It was said that not long ago, they even invited the disciple of divine Dr. Luo from Qin country to treat the Duke. Could it be that divine Dr. Luo's disciple was the reincarnation of Hua Tuo? Gu Xiaoshan didn't know anything about the Duke's residence, and only thought that the Duke was an ordinary person. He stuck his head out of the carriage window to take a look and was speechless. Lulang, he fell so miserably. Do you want me to take a look at him? Ever since he found out that Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao had exchanged identities, in order to minimize the interaction with his original identity, Gu Xiaoshan no longer called Gu Jiao brother-in-law and directly addressed him by his name. Gu Yan also stuck his head out of the window. Both of their heads were pressed together, and it was quite crowded. Gu Yan looked at the way the Duke looked at Gu Jiao and frowned in confusion. Gu Jiao got down from the horse. The others didn't know that Gu Jiao knew about medicine, and were very surprised when they saw her walking towards the Duke. What was she doing? Second Master Jing regained his senses from the fall. He stood up like a carp and rushed up the horse carriage in front of Gu Jiao. Big brother, why did you fall? Let me help you up. Second Master Jing showed his powerful Qilin arm strength to his big brother, and then he received a death stare from his big brother. He didn't know what was going on. The Duke was helped back to the wheelchair by Second Master Jing. Gu Jiao wanted to get on the carriage. Second Master Jing stretched out his hand to stop her and asked sternly, "What are you doing here?" This stinking brat who would attack people at the drop of a hat was obviously a dangerous person. He must not be allowed to get close to Big Brother. Gu Jiao said indifferently, "I'll take a look at him." Second Master Jing said angrily, "You quack. I won't let you treat my big brother." Second Master Jing received the second wave of death stares from his eldest brother. Second Master Jing resentfully rubbed his nose and whispered to his eldest brother, "Eldest brother, don't be afraid. I won't let him get on the carriage." Second Master Jing received the third wave of death stares from his eldest brother. Gu Jiao was not in a hurry to speak. She only glanced at Second Master Jing. It was this seemingly casual glance that caused Second Master Jing's heart to involuntarily rise with the fear of being dominated by his brother-in-law. He cowered in a second. "For young Master Qingqin's sake, I'll reluctantly let you take a look at my eldest brother." Gu Jiao got into the carriage. "Make way." Gu Jiao said to Second Master Jing, "You're blocking the light. This is my own carriage. Why should I? I'll make way. I won't bicker with you." Second Master Jing heroically jumped off the carriage. "You get off too." He pulled the coachman off the carriage. He made himself the scapegoat. "Xiaoshan, give me the first aid kit," Gu Jiao said. Gu Xiaoshan took out the first aid kit from her bag and agilely jumped off the carriage, handing it over to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao did not bring her medicine box when she went out in case of emergencies. She brought a first aid kit with emergency medicine, a flashlight, and silver needles inside. Gu Jiao first took the Duke's pulse, then turned on the flashlight and shone it into the Duke's eyes. She used her body to block the light, so the others did not see what she was using to diagnose the Duke's illness. But looking at her posture, she really did look like a doctor. Mu Qingqin frowned slightly and turned to look at Gu Yan in the carriage beside him. "Xiao Lulang really knows medicine?" Gu Yan leaned against the window and snorted, "He's really good." Then last time Mu Qingqin thought of the situation when Gu Jiao went to the Duke's residence to treat the Duke's illness. She said that Mu Ru Xian's silver needles were crooked. Could it be that she was right? If Mu Ru Xian's silver needles were crooked, how good could her medical skills be? If her medical skills were not good, How could she make the Duke's illness better? In a flash, Mu Qingchen's mind had already thought of many things. Mu Chuan and the others were also very surprised. Mu Chuan's eyes widened. I didn't know that Xiao Lu also knows medicine? Xiao Lu? Gu Xiaoshuan's face was full of confusion. When did his sister have such a nickname? The Duke's pupils were equally big and reacted to the light source. His cornea's reflection was also normal. This showed that his face was not twitching unconsciously. Even if he was not completely awake, at least he was out of a deep coma. Last time when she bandaged him, he seemed to be able to react to the outside world a little through his fingers. But it was not as big as today's progress. Gu Jiao was sure that the Duke was getting better, although she was not sure if the reason for his improvement was Mu Ru Xian's treatment or something else. But his physical functions and nerve reflexes were still very poor. This was the after-effect of his brain injury. Gu Jiao could not say for the time being whether he could speak or whether he could completely recover. Gu Jiao put the used cotton swabs and silver needles into a separate pouch. After packing up the first aid kit, she planned to get off the carriage. As soon as she moved, she felt a slight tug. She looked back and saw that the Duke's trembling fingers had unknowingly grabbed the corner of her clothes. Speaking of which, it was strange. She was someone who could push the door latch off. Yet she was pulled by such a weak force. She frowned strangely. Then she looked at the Duke and asked, "Do you feel any discomfort?" The Duke could not speak, so he just held on and did not let go. Gu Jiao checked him again. He was almost out of strength. His fingers were trembling, but he still used the last of his strength to not let go. Gu Jiao did not understand this phenomenon. Was it just an irregular muscle reflex? Gu Jiao thought about it, and took out a candy from the first aid kit. She opened the Duke's palm and let him hold the candy. After the archery competition ended, the contestants left one after another. The spectators also left one after another. Xiaoheng did not like to squeeze with others. When the 3 female classmates suggested that they go back to the academy, he let them go first. It's strange. You were so enthusiastic when you came. Why didn't you hurry to leave? Don't tell me. You're meeting someone behind our backs? A female student gossiped. Xiaoheng did not look at her. He picked up the teacup and drank the tea. The female student curled her lips. Humph, still ignoring us. Forget it. Let's go. I thought we had a special relationship after sitting with her for a day. She doesn't like us at all. The 3 of them muttered and rolled their eyes as they walked down the stands. Little Jing Kong held the railing of the stands with his hands. His little head was in the gap of the railing, and he sighed. Jiao Jiao. He did not even talk to Jiao Jiao. He missed Jiao Jiao so much. But there were still 10 days before the holiday. Going to school was too cruel for children. When almost all the people left, Xiaoheng stood up. He held little Jing Kong's hand and walked down. Miss Gu, please wait. A maidservant caught up with him. This was the maidservant who had been accompanying Xiaoheng in the pavilion earlier. She didn't call out to Xiaoheng earlier, nor did she call out to Xiaoheng later. She only called out to Xiaoheng after everyone had left. Xiaoheng did not believe that she had no purpose. Xiaoheng looked at her and asked with his eyes, "What's the matter?" The maid smiled and respectfully said, "My young master is actually here today, but he didn't show up in the stands. It's dinner time now, so my young master wants to invite Miss Gu to the lake to enjoy the lake scenery of Xingdu." Xiaoheng signaled little Jing Kong with his eyes. Little Jing Kong bitterly took out a charcoal pencil and a small notebook from his pocket and handed them to Xiaoheng. They were the same as Gu Jiaojiao's. Xiaoheng wrote, "Who is your master?" The maid replied with a smile, "Miss Gu, you'll know when you get there." "Is it fun to go to the lake?" Little Jing Kong asked. The maid said with a smile, "It's fun. You can fish, enjoy the lanterns, and put lotus lanterns on the lake." Little Jing Kong's 2 little arms fluttered behind him. "I want to go. I want to go." Xiaoheng gave the little guy a look. "Oh, don't go. It's getting late. I should go back," he wrote. The maidservant was stunned. She didn't expect that even after her young master had revealed such extraordinary strength, this young Miss Gu would still be indifferent to him. She was a well-trained maid. She quickly came to her senses and said, It's getting late. How about I arrange someone to send Miss Gu back to the academy? It was only 2 steps to go back to the academy. Little Jinkong hung on his thigh and said, I can't walk anymore. Do you want to carry me? Xiaoheng finally agreed to sit in the maid's carriage. He didn't know who that young master was to be able to reserve the best viewing platform and watch the entire competition without showing himself. He was even able to stealthily drive a seemingly inconspicuous but extremely luxurious carriage into the Lingbo Academy's field. Xiaoheng got down from the viewing platform. He was taken into the carriage before he could walk. The carriage was made of Phoebe, also known as dragonwood. It was said that Phoebe could last for thousands of years. Princess Xinyang liked to collect this kind of wood. The carriage was escorted by 4 guards. Xiaoheng could not tell the depth of their kung fu, but he felt that they were similar to the dragon shadow guards of the Zhao kingdom. So they were the men of sacrifice of the Yin kingdom, and they were very powerful. Little Jing Kong wasn't lying when he said that he couldn't walk. He had been playing all day and hadn't taken a nap. As soon as he got into the carriage, he fell asleep on Xiaoheng's body. The carriage went out of the academy. He had only taken a few steps when he heard the maid on the outside of the carriage call out exaggeratedly, Young master? Ha! This script was clumsy. Xiaoheng frowned and poked little Jing Kong's face. He was sleeping so soundly. Master, why are you here? The maid continued to act. Xiaoheng sat in the carriage and did not even lift his eyelids, let alone lift the curtain to greet the master. Ahem. The master cleared his throat. Maybe he gave the maid a look. The maid turned around and lifted the curtain slightly. She said to Xiaoheng, Miss Gu, my master would like to see you. The gap between the curtain and the curtain was just enough for Xiaoheng to see the master in the brocade robe. It was also enough for the master to see the first beauty in the gauze dress. Xiaoheng was wearing a veil, which covered a little of his face. He could vaguely see the outline of his face. Coupled with his pair of unparalleled eyes, it was obvious that he was devastatingly beautiful. Xiaoheng glanced at the other party indifferently and slammed the curtain down. The maid was so frightened that she knelt on the outside of the carriage. The master in the brocade robe did not get angry. He cupped his hands and smiled. I was rude. Please forgive me, Miss Gu. Saying this, he stepped aside and gave the coachman a look, allowing the carriage to pass in front of him. The wheels of the carriage started to turn. A guard in brocade robe said, My Royal Highness. She doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. You've already done so much for her. How dare she give you such a cold shoulder? I heard that she's just a citizen of the lower country. Royal Prince Ming smiled and looked at the departing carriage. He said confidently, She's a beauty. It's inevitable that she's arrogant and willful. It's okay. I have plenty of patience. Their voices were not loud. An ordinary woman would not be able to hear them. However, Xiaoheng had excellent hearing since she was young. Xiaoheng's brows furrowed. This person was a royal prince? If Gu Jiao was here, she would definitely recognize him as the crown prince, Royal Prince Ming, who had appeared at Tianqiong Academy. My royal prince. Another guard walked over. You're back. Royal Prince Ming asked, How's Nan Gonglin? The guard reported in a low voice. Nan Gonglin's condition is not good. After he returned, he kept saying that the boy from Tianqiong Academy was scheming against him. He asked for your help. Royal Prince Ming said thoughtfully, Help me get rid of that boy? It's not a difficult task. However, he's Qingchen's classmate. Remember to keep your hands clean. Don't let Qingchen find out. The guard cupped his hands. Yes, my royal prince. Xiaoheng suddenly knocked on the door. The maid asked, Miss Gu, what can I do for you? Xiaoheng took out a pen and paper and wrote, I have something to say to your master. The maid's eyes lit up. She quickly asked the coachman to turn the carriage around. Royal Prince Ming was surprised to see the beauty's carriage return. Xiaoheng lifted the curtain of the carriage slightly and looked at Royal Prince Ming coldly. Being stared at by a beauty, even if it was just a cold gaze, was enough to make one's heart flutter. Royal Prince Ming smiled. Miss Gu, are you looking for me? Xiaoheng looked hesitant. Royal Prince Ming looked at the worry on the beauty's face and felt his heart clench. Miss Gu, are you in trouble? Xiaoheng hesitated for a moment and wrote, It's indeed a little troublesome. However, I don't know if I should say it. Royal Prince Ming said. Miss Gu, please say it. Xiao Heng looked conflicted and wrote. The young master of the Nan Gonglin family is always bothering me. Royal Prince Ming's face darkened. Nan Gonglin. Xiao Heng sighed while the space between his brows seemed to be frowning, and his eyes were filled with helplessness and the hardships of his life. He wrote, forget it. Just pretend I didn't say anything. The Nan Gonglin family is extremely powerful. I shouldn't have put the young master in a difficult position. However, it's just my hard life. Digression. Master of T23333, what is a good script? Jiao Jiao, you should learn from it. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1077922207. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikagu mobile reading website. zhbqg. Chapter 652. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Some words should not be said too much, and should be left blank. This way, the other party's imagination would be given space to continue to wander. After Xiao Heng finished writing the last sentence, he left in the carriage, leaving Commandery Prince Ming standing in place with a cold expression. Commandery Prince. The guard beside him called out. Are you all right? What can happen to me? Commandery Prince Ming said coldly. When the guard heard this, he knew that he was angry. The guard hesitated for a moment and said what he thought. Commandery Prince, what Miss Gu said may not be true. You can't believe everything. The guard did not dare to covet the #1 beauty of the Kanglin Women's Academy, so he could look at the problem from an objective point of view. Commandery Prince Ming did not think so. He glanced at the guard coldly and said, Do you mean that she is lying to me? The guard said, I just think that it is better to be cautious. Commandery Prince Ming snorted and said, She is just a weak woman from a lower country. She has no one to rely on in Chengdu. Would she dare to slander the Nangong family? Moreover, she is a girl. Would she speak without thinking to slander a man? Would she even disregard her reputation? A woman's reputation was greater than heaven. Commandery Prince Ming narrowed his eyes dangerously and said, Nangong Lin knows that I am interested in her, but he still dares to steal my woman. Very good, very good. The guard opened his mouth and said, Commandery Prince, why don't I go and check it out? Commandery Prince Ming snorted and said, Can you find out about Nangong Lin? He covets the woman this prince wants behind this prince's back. Does he have the guts to leave any traces behind? If Miss Gu had not told me today, I don't know how long I would have been kept in the dark. Commandery Prince Ming believed Xiao Heng's words for a reason. Apart from the 2 points he mentioned, the beauty had no enmity with Nangong Lin. Why would she frame him? This would not benefit her at all. In comparison, it was more likely that Nangong Lin would pester her. Even he, the dignified Duke of the Crown Prince's residence, was smitten by a beauty. Was Nangong Lin's willpower better than him? Or was his vision better than him? How could he not be moved by a beauty? Because of this, Commandery Prince Ming chose to believe in Xiao Heng. The guard had followed Commandery Prince Ming for a long time, and naturally understood his personality. There were some things that Commandery Prince Ming was really clever, but there were also some things that he thought himself to be clever. He didn't waste his breath trying to persuade him any further. Then should I? As he spoke, he made a throat-slitting gesture. Commandery Prince Ming's eyes turned cold and he said with disgust, What do you want? He would take revenge for his own vengeance. What does that have to do with me? The guard cupped his hands. Yes. The carriage stopped outside the gates of the Tsanglan Women's Academy. The maid gently lifted the curtain for Xiaoheng. Miss Gu has arrived. Xiaoheng got out of the carriage with the sleeping little Jing Kong in his arms. There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. He took out a written note and handed it to her. Please tell your young master that thank you. Gu Jiao and the others left the inner city. Gu Jiao looked at Mu Chuan and Mu Qingchen strangely and asked, Why are you two going back to the academy? Mu Chuan shrugged. I don't know. I followed fourth brother here. Mu Qingchen paused and said, I'm moving to the academy. Oh. Mu Chuan rubbed his sore neck. When he came to his senses, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at his fourth brother. Fourth brother, what did you say? You're going to live in the academy? Mu Qingchen said seriously. The competition is coming. We'll waste too much time on the road every day. It's better to use it for training. The people of the Wuyue Academy are right. We can't win every match so easily. The reason why we were able to win today was largely because our opponent's skills were uneven. Su Ping's skill level was greatly lowered. As long as there were 2 members of the royal family in a team, our chances of winning would be reduced by half. Yes, Mu Qingchen is right. Wu Fuzi also urged his horse to walk beside the group of people. He said with great approval, There are still many powerful academies. Even if they don't have the royal family's Jusho, their power should not be underestimated if they cooperate well with each other. We have to step up our training. Will the next match be held at the Lingbo Academy? Gu Jiao asked. Yes. Other than the Grand Preceptor Hall and the palace, only the Lingbo Academy's field is perfect. It could be seen from the arrangement of the stands. How many more days? Gu Jiao asked again. 7 days. Wu Fuzi said, there will be other competitions in the next 2 days. If you have time, you can go and watch. But you can't delay your training. Does that mean I can delay my studies? Wu Fuzi choked. You can't say that. You can just do it secretly. In the carriage, Dean Sim pretended to be deaf. At dusk, the group arrived at the academy. Wu Fuzi wanted to analyze today's competition with everyone. Gu Jiao asked Gu Xiaoshan to bring Gu Yan back first. The bowler team gathered at the field. School had already ended, but there were still many students gathered around the field. Everyone had heard that Tianqiong Academy had advanced to the next round, and they were all surprised. Tianqiong Academy had never won any bowler competition. It would be a lie to say that they were extremely disappointed, but it wouldn't be right to say that they didn't care either. When Gu Jiao and the others rode their horses and slowly walked into the field, they were greeted by everyone's gazes. Everyone was mainly shocked and there wasn't any formal ceremony. But that moment of attention made the bowlers feel a long-lost glory. Mu Chuan straightened his back. Cough, cough. All right. You all go over there and wait for me. Wu Fuzi's old face was burning. The martial scholar had never had a chance to display his skills in the literary institute. This was also the first time he returned with glory. He was too excited. He only won the first match, and he already felt this way. He didn't dare to think about the next few matches. Deep breaths. Calm down. Wu Fuzi rode his horse over valiantly. Did our academy really win? We won. We won against the royal family's bowler. If I knew we would win, I would have gone to watch the competition. Me too. Outside the field, the students were all talking at once. They all regretted missing today's competition. How could they have expected their academy to win? They thought that they would be defeated as soon as they went on the field like the previous few times. I heard that many people from Wuyue Academy went. Is our academy the most embarrassing? There isn't even a single person cheering for us? It seems like it. Everyone blushed with shame. Wu Fuzi finished analyzing everyone's performance today and asked them to go back and rest well. They would come back for training tomorrow morning. What's going on today? When Gu Jiao led the horse back to the stable, Mu Qingchen stopped her. Gu Jiao turned around and asked in astonishment, what happened? Nan Gonglin. Mu Qingchen said bluntly. Gu Jiao didn't deliberately hide it. He was hit in the waist and abdomen. Half of his body was paralyzed and he fell off the horse. Mu Qingchen frowned. He took a deep look at Gu Jiao and asked, Are they here for you? At that time, Gu Jiao was relatively close to the crowd. Nan Gonglin was on the other side of Gu Jiao. Nan Gonglin questioned Gu Jiao on the spot why she bent over to grab the ball. It was too chaotic at that time. No one understood the strangeness of this sentence. Now that they thought about it, was there any direct relationship between Gu Jiao bending over to grab the ball and Nan Gonglin falling off the horse? He couldn't have been frightened by Gu Jiao's grab of the ball and fell off the horse, right? But if the other party wanted to make Gu Jiao fall off the horse, everything made sense. What happened to you? Gu Jiao asked. Huh. Mu Qingchen was stunned. Bowing, Gu Jiao said. Mu Qingchen understood. It's not what Su Hao said. He didn't swear not to bow anymore, because he had lost to anyone. Su Hao did see him lose to someone, but he was willing to admit defeat. Besides, he was happy to lose to that person. Seeing that he didn't intend to continue, Gu Jiao didn't force him. She led the horse back to the stable and handed it to the servant who took care of the stable. She turned and walked out. Mu Qingchen walked out with her. Just as they were about to say goodbye, Mu Qingchen suddenly spoke again. I once stayed in the manor for a period of time when I was young. That was when his mother left the Su family in a fit of anger after discovering Su Hao's existence. Su Hao was actually a mistress. His mother never knew that his father had a mistress outside. By the time she found out, Su Hao could already walk. It was a situation that even abortion medicine couldn't save. Su Hao was a day older than him. His mother had a difficult labor and only gave birth to him after 3 days. In the first 2 days of her life, his father was accompanying another woman to give birth. In order not to see his father, his mother kept moving. He went to Snow Cloud Villa when he was 9 years old. She was 6 years old when I first saw her, Mu Qingchen recalled. That childhood playmate. Gu Jiao thought of the ugly doll that fell out of Mu Qingchen's bag. She didn't see it clearly, but she could tell that it was quite ugly. Mu Qingchen nodded. I lived in the manor for 2 years. She lived in the villa next door. She liked to bow and always rode her date red pony to the foot of the mountain to look for people to bow. Later on she left, and I never bowed again. This was the second time Gu Jiao heard him describe his childhood playmate as left. Is she no longer alive? Gu Jiao asked. Mu Qingchen paused, disappointment flashing across his eyes. Yes, she left when she was 8 years old. Before she left, she told me to take good care of her father. She also said that she would come back one day. Speaking of this, Mu Qingchen smiled bitterly. I really believed her at that time. I was so stupid. A dead person can't come back to life. I understood this later. But 9 years have passed and I still can't help but wait. I just wait for the day when she can appear in front of me alive. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/1077888978. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bkuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 653. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The weather changed quickly. Before Gu Jiao left the academy, heavy rain poured down. Mu Qingchen accompanied her to the gatehouse to hide from the rain for a while. No one spoke. Gu Jiao had always been a woman of few words. Mu Qingchen didn't say much either. But for some reason, he was willing to speak in front of Gu Jiao. But perhaps he recalled the sad past. After he finished talking about his childhood playmate, he didn't say a word until Gu Jiao left. When Gu Jiao returned home, night had completely fallen. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of delicious food. Madame Nan made scallion pancakes. The whole courtyard was filled with crispy fragrance. Gu Xiaoshan had already described the exciting process of the boxing competition to Madame Nan, Master Lu, and Old Master Meng. It was different from the usual practice. The atmosphere on the field was difficult to describe with words. In short, it's very good. My sister is very good. Everyone in the family was very happy. Madame Nan made a table full of delicious dishes. No one ate first. They were all waiting for Gu Jiao to come back. As soon as Gu Jiao entered the house, she saw her family sitting in the central room waiting for her. She looked at everyone and then at the dishes on the table. She didn't say anything like they didn't have to wait for her in the future. Instead, she said, "I'll come back earlier next time." Madame Nan smiled. "It's okay. It was raining heavily just now. You didn't get wet, right?" Gu Jiao shook her head. "No, I hid from the rain at the academy for a while." Madame Nan said gently, "Go wash your hands and eat. The water is here, the water is here." Gu Xiaoshan ran into the house with a basin of water. Gu Jiao washed her hands. "I'll go and see Yen first." Madame Nan smiled. "Okay." Gu Yen was exhausted after a whole day of watching the competition. He fell asleep as soon as he got home. Gu Jiao touched his forehead and checked his pulse. After confirming that there was no major deterioration, she got up and walked out. In the central room, Mistress Nan said to Gu Jiao, "I've pickled some radishes. Next time you go to the inner city, bring them to Lulang and Jingkong. I put vegetable oil in them, so they can be eaten in Jingkong too." Gu Jiao said, "Many thanks to Nan Shirnyang." After dinner, Gu Jiao washed up and went back to her room to rest. Not only was Gu Yen exhausted, but she was also a little tired. Not long after, she fell into a deep sleep. That night, she fell asleep again. However, it was neither a large mansion nor a bustling street. Instead, it was at the back of a mountain range. She saw the young High Duke again. In fact, she could only see his back, but she recognized him. He wasn't alone. He was holding the hand of a little girl in plain clothes. The little girl was holding a red pony in her hand. In front of the two of them were more than 10 graves. On each grave stood a wordless monument. The sky was gray, and the cold wind whistled around them. The young duke said, "Inin, come and kowtow to your grandfather and uncles. When you were born, they all held you. Your name was given by your first uncle. They all loved you very much. Why are there no names on the monument?" The little girl pointed at the wordless monument on the grave. The young duke said, "Because they can't write their names." The little girl asked, "Why? Did you lose their names?" The young duke said in a daze, "Yes, their names are lost." "Inin, when you grow up, can you find the names of grandfather and uncles?" The little girl said, "Okay, when I find them, I'll carve their names on the monument." The young duke looked into the distance. "Yes, carve their names on the monument. One day, the world will know that the people buried here are the sons of Xianyuan, who protected the Yan dynasty." Gu Jiao woke up in the middle of the night. The dream faded again, but this time she remembered more things than last time. In addition to the duke, there were more than 10 graves with wordless monuments. Gu Jiao was puzzled. The appearance of the graves was strange, and so was the appearance of the duke. She just saw him in the day, and then dreamed of him at night. It couldn't be that she had set her sights on a good-looking man, could it? Gu Jiao scratched her eyebrows. "Am I cuckolding my husband?" In the duke's mansion, the lights were bright, and the servants were busy. Second Madam was sweating profusely from managing everything inside and outside. "Is the medicine that Miss Mu asked you to boil ready? Is the porridge for the second master ready? Give me the paper money, I'll burn it myself." The duke was sick and had a high fever that didn't subside. The entire duke's residence was in a complete mess. Even though Muru Xian was treating the duke, the second madam still secretly burned some paper money for her ancestors to pray for her eldest brother's safety. The second master was like a frightened quail standing in front of his eldest brother's door. He did not know whether to enter or leave. Speaking of which, it was his eldest brother's fault that he fell sick. On the way back to the mansion, they met the courtesans parading the streets. He looked at them a few more times, which delayed the time to return to the mansion. As a result, there was a rainstorm. The carriage was drenched, and he and his eldest brother were drenched. His martial arts body could withstand it, but his eldest brother was in trouble. The second madam came back after burning the paper money. She glared at her husband. "It's all your fault." The second master said embarrassedly, "It's my fault, it's my fault." He really did not expect it to rain. If he knew earlier, he would not even look at the courtesans taking a bath, let alone the courtesans parading the streets. The second madam was angry at him, but she could not help but feel sorry for him. She said bitterly, "The porridge is ready. Eat some before coming back." The second master sighed. "I can't eat. I'll stay here and wait. I'll leave when eldest brother is fine." The second madam said, "It's useless for you to stay here. You won't be able to help Lady Mu." The second master thought for a while. "Then, I'll go kowtow to the ancestors." He turned around and left. The second madam looked at his back and helplessly shook her head. Inside the room, Muru Xian was treating the duke. Sure, Yi did not like outsiders watching her treat a patient. Other than her, there was only a personal maid she brought from Qin country in the room. The maid knew a little about medicine, so she was her assistant, acting as a medicine boy. Three-edged needle. Muru Xian sat by the bed and extended her hand to the maid. The maid handed over a brand new three-edged needle. The duke's high fever did not subside. Muru Xian used the three-edged needle to pierce the China duke's de Jouet point and let out a few drops of blood. After that, she treated the duke's wound and turned him over to lie down. "Hurry up with the medicine. I already urged them, but they said it would be done soon." Muru Xian did not say anything else. Waking her up in the middle of the night made her sleepy. Just as she planned to let the maid pour her a cup of strong tea to wake her up, she heard a weak voice. She frowned and looked at the duke, who seemed to be talking in his sleep. She bent down and carefully listened to what the duke was saying. "Young miss, is the duke talking?" "Shoo." Muru Xian made a shushing gesture. After listening for a while, she sat up and said to the maid, "He seems to be calling a name, Inin." Muru Xian hesitated for a while before she took the duke's pulse again and checked the temperature of his palm. Her finger was just about to touch his palm when the duke grabbed it out of reflex. "Young miss." The maid was startled. The duke called out that name. "Inin. Inin. The medicine is ready." The second madam personally walked over with the medicine. Just as she pushed the door open and entered the room, she saw her eldest brother grabbing Muru Xian. She paused in her steps. "Second madam." Muru Xian calmly greeted her, and then pulled her hand out of his grasp. To be more precise, it was more like the duke had taken the initiative to let go of her hand. He seemed to know that he had grabbed the wrong person, but the second madam was unable to see through these subtle movements. The second madam was stunned for a while before she walked forward with the medicine bowl. "The duke's condition, how is it?" "I have already performed acupuncture on the duke. Let's wait and see," Muru Xian said. "Ah." The second madam pursed her lips and couldn't help but look at the duke's hand. Muru Xian explained, "I was taking the duke's pulse just now." The maid hurriedly explained to Muru Xian, "It was the duke who grabbed my young miss. The duke kept pulling my young miss' hand and calling, 'Inin.' Who is Inin? Don't mistake my young miss for someone else." "Shut up," Muru Xian said coldly. The maid shut her mouth. The second madam looked at the duke before looking at Muru Xian. She said in disbelief, "Did the duke really call you Inin?" Muru Xian frowned and nodded. From her point of view, it was indeed so. There was only her and the maid in the room, and the duke only grabbed her to call Inin. "Put the medicine here first. I will go out for a while." After saying that, the second madam lifted her skirt and rushed to the small ancestral hall of the duke's estate. Second Master Jing was kneeling on the ground and sincerely kowtowing to the old ancestors. "Don't kowtow, don't kowtow. I have something to discuss with you." The second madam dragged Second Master Jing out. "What is it?" Second Master Jing looked at her in confusion. The second madam's eyes brightened as she said, "Eldest brother spoke." Second Master Jing was very calm. "Didn't I tell you earlier that eldest brother knows how to call Inin?" The second madam said, "It's not that. Eldest brother just grabbed Miss Mu's hand and called Eneen. He mistook Miss Mu for Eneen. Second Master Jing waved his hand. How is that possible? How many years has Eneen been gone? Of course I know Eneen isn't here anymore. But didn't eldest brother break this place? The second madam pointed at her own head. Perhaps he doesn't even remember. Second Master Jing shook his head decisively. No, eldest brother won't forget. The second madam said. All right. I will treat it as eldest brother remembering. Let me ask you. Did eldest brother's condition improve after Miss Mu came to our estate? Did eldest brother call Eneen after Miss Mu saw him that day? Second Master Jing kept recalling. It seems that's right. Just now, eldest brother grabbed her and called her Eneen. The second madam emphasized this matter again. What do you want to say? Second Master Jing asked. The second madam smiled mysteriously. I want to say that eldest brother wants a daughter. Miss Mu and Eneen are about the same age. If eldest brother really likes her, he can take her as his daughter. This. Second Master Jing hesitated. The second madam said. Let Miss Mu call you father. Perhaps that will wake eldest brother up. Second Master Jing frowned. Wait, didn't you say you didn't believe in talking to eldest brother? When Mu Qingchen's classmate suggested it, you treated him as a quack and chased him out. The second madam said angrily. Can't I believe it now? Second Master Jing raised his brows. Oh, then his 500 taels of medical fee wasn't in vain. The second madam respected the Duke's heart. Ever since she married into the Duke's estate, she hadn't been bullied or punished. If her maternal family encountered any problems, she didn't need to personally say anything. Eldest brother would take the initiative to ask second master to compensate her maternal family. She really hoped that eldest brother would wake up. But that girl might not be willing. Second Master Jing said. The second madam smiled. I will go and sound her out first. Soon, the second madam went to the Duke's room and called Muru Xian to the courtyard. She softly explained Eneen's identity to her. She is my eldest brother's daughter. Muru Xian nodded. I see. The second madam smiled. You're about the same age as my eldest brother's daughter. You've been by my eldest brother's side these past few days. It must have made him think of his daughter. The Duke's family's daughter has a high status. Ru Xian doesn't dare to compare herself to her. No matter how arrogant Muru Xian was, she wouldn't compare herself to the daughter of an aristocratic family. You haven't asked about Miss Mu's mother? The second madam asked. Muru Xian said gloomily. My parents passed away early. It was my master who raised me. She really has a hard life. The second madam held her hand and patted it lightly. If Eneen was still alive, she would be about your age. After the second madam left, a maid asked Muru Xian, Young mistress, what does the second madam mean? Why did she suddenly say so many strange things to you? Muru Xian looked at the hand the Duke had grabbed and said calmly, Who knows? The next day, a piece of news spread like wildfire in the Duke's estate. A few maids gathered in the garden to do some sweeping. The first maid said, Have you heard? The Duke wants to adopt Miss Mu as his daughter. The second maid said, Who did you hear it from? The first maid said, Don't worry about what I heard. Just tell me if you believe it or not. The second maid said, I don't believe it. The third maid came over. It's true. I heard it. The Duke held Miss Mu's hand and called out his daughter's name. The fourth maid also came over. The Duke is awake? The first maid said. He only wakes up when Miss Mu is with him. The second maid said. It seems that Miss Mu is going to be our Duke's family's daughter. She's a bit arrogant. I don't really like her. The first maid said. Do I need you to like her? It's enough that the Duke likes her. Gu Jiao didn't know anything about what happened in the Duke's estate. She had been training in the mornings and evenings, and going to school during the day. She was extremely busy. In the blink of an eye, it was the 6th day. The next day was the second round of the archery competition. They didn't have any funds last time, so they could only stay at the academy. They had to get up early on the day of the competition. This time the academy gave them a sum of money, and Wu Fuzi booked an inn in the inner city for them to stay there for the night. This way, they wouldn't have to get up early the next morning and waste their energy on the road. The contestants had to enter the venue early, but the audience didn't. Thus, Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan would go the next morning. Principal Tsin had a spacious and comfortable carriage to take care of them. The group entered the inner city in a grandiose manner. The inn that Wu Fuzi booked was called New Moon Inn. It was about 2 miles away from Lingbo Academy. After getting off the carriage, Mu Chuan saw the inn and complained, "This place is very far from Lingbo Academy." Wu Fuzi coughed lightly. "It's only 2 miles away. It's not far. We'll be there soon." The main reason was that the money given by the academy was only enough to book this inn. Recently, because of the archery competition, the prices of the nearby inns had all increased. "This inn is so shabby," Mu Chuan said disdainfully. The young master of the Mu family, who lived in luxury, had never stayed in such a shabby inn even when his mother punished him to experience the hardships of the common people. Ahem. It looks shabby from the outside, but it's not bad inside, Wu Fuzi said as he stepped over the threshold. With a clang, the plaque in the lobby fell down. Wu Fuzi was speechless. "Fourth brother, let's go home," Mu Chuan whispered to Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen glanced at Gu Jiao, who had already gone upstairs with her bag, and said indifferently, "You can go back by yourself." After saying that, he also walked up the stairs. "Hey, fourth brother." Wu Fuzi booked the best rooms for them. Each of them had a room on the second floor. Even Wu Fuzi's room wasn't as good as theirs. Gu Jiao's room was between Mu Qingchen and Mu Chuan's room. Mu Chuan came over with his bag. "Xiao Lulang, I'll switch rooms with you." He wanted to be next to his fourth brother. Gu Jiao didn't have any objections. Mu Chuan got his wish and stayed next to Mu Qingchen. When Mu Qingchen came over to find Gu Jiao, he saw Mu Chuan's face that deserved a slap. Mu Chuan smiled brightly and opened his arms. "Fourth brother, are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Mu Qingchen was speechless. They had dinner in the main hall. In order to ensure everyone's safety, Wu Fuzi tasted every dish to make sure it wasn't poisonous and harmless before asking the waiter to bring it out. They had to enter early tomorrow, so everyone went back to their rooms to rest after dinner. Wu Fuzi guarded the corridor and didn't allow anyone to come out for a walk. It was a little stuffy in the room. Gu Jiao opened the window to get some fresh air. Her room was facing the street. Standing by the window, she could see half of the night view of the street. Chengdu's night view was more prosperous than the capital of the Zhao kingdom. She quietly looked at the endless stream of people. Suddenly, she saw a familiar figure. The night was very dark and he was very far away, but she was sure that she didn't see wrong. She stared at his portrait countless times and pictured his expression in her mind. It was him, Nangong Li with a broken arm. Nangong Li had just come out of a shop and stepped into the Nangong family's carriage. Gu Jiao narrowed her eyes dangerously and jumped down from the second floor. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/1077722515. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 654. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Right now, the night market was bustling. There were too many people and carriages on the street, so Nangong Li's carriage wasn't moving fast. This made it easier for Gu Jiao to follow him. Nangong Li had lost an arm and was seriously injured. It was said that he was about to die, but it looked like he was living well. Then, How did the rumor that he was about to die come about? What was the motive? Gu Jiao guessed that Nan Gongli had failed his mission to assassinate Xiao Heng. In order to reduce his punishment, he pretended to be seriously injured. Who was the person who gave him this mission? Was it the head of the Nangong family, or someone else? No matter what, Nan Gongli wasn't innocent. Nan Gongli's carriage first walked on the long street for a while, then turned right into a small alley. After passing through the alley, there was another relatively quiet street. This street mostly sold antiques and paintings. It wasn't as lively as the long street with the brothels and lanterns. But because there weren't many people, it increased the chances of Gu Jiao being exposed. Gu Jiao had no choice but to walk more lightly. Nan Gongli's carriage stopped in front of an antique shop. The driver put down the footstool and helped Nan Gongli down. Gu Jiao was hiding behind a pillar diagonally across the street. Earlier on the second floor, it was too far and she couldn't see clearly. Now that she was closer, the light from the lanterns shone on Nan Gongli's face. Gu Jiao found that Nan Gongli's injury wasn't optimistic. His face was very pale, and his steps weren't as steady as they were in the country of Zhao. It seemed that Chang Jing's sword didn't just cut off his arm, it also damaged his foundation. It was impossible for him to recover. After Nan Gongli entered the shop, Gu Jiao also arrived near the shop. She hesitated whether to go in directly or secretly climb up to the roof. She had seen Nan Gongli before. She had seen him in person and in pictures, but she wasn't sure if Nan Gongli had seen her before. She also wasn't sure if he had investigated her while investigating Xiao Lulang. If he hadn't, then it wouldn't matter if she went in openly. But what if Gu Jiao lowered her head and looked at her clothes? She had come out in a hurry and hadn't changed her clothes. She was wearing the Tianqiong Academy's uniform. Forget it, let's climb the wall. Gu Jiao walked into the alley and climbed up the wall to the roof. The darkness of the night perfectly concealed her figure. She followed Nan Gongli's voice and gently lifted a tile. Nan Gongli sat on the main seat. Opposite him stood a man in his 50s dressed like a merchant. He looked like the shopkeeper of this shop. Gu Jiao was now at the 10th level of Yan Kingdom, so there was naturally no situation where she could not understand their conversation. She heard Nan Gongli ask, "How's the situation over there?" The shopkeeper sighed. His Highness was very angry. He asked why he couldn't even handle such a small matter. Nan Gongli said, "This is no small matter. One of my arms is gone." The shopkeeper hurriedly said, "General, you have worked hard and made great contributions. His Highness also said that General should recuperate well." I'm afraid that if I wasn't so badly injured, His Highness would punish me, right?" His Highness was also angry. How could His Highness not understand your loyalty to His Highness? When Gu Jiao heard this, she more or less understood what was going on. The small matter that Nan Gongli was talking about should be the assassination of Xiao Heng. However, this matter didn't seem to be the Nangong family's idea. There was also a highness behind it. Only the Great Yin royal family could be called a highness. Why did the Great Yin royal family want Xiao Heng's life? Was Xiao Heng related to the Great Yin royal family? Nan Gongli said impatiently, "Okay, let's not talk about this. How's the investigation going?" At present, it seemed that this shopkeeper had 3 identities. The first was the shopkeeper of this shop. The second was the informant of that highness. The third was Nan Gongli's confidant. The shopkeeper said, "A few years ago, the young master of the Dark Knight sect left home in a fit of pique with the old master. After that, there was no news of him. Those elders of the Dark Knight sect who went to the Zhao country should have gone to look for the young master. Who would have thought that they didn't meet the young master, but happened to save you?" Nan Gongli frowned and said, "I was unconscious at that time and couldn't tell them that the one who hurt me was the young master of the Dark Knight sect. When I woke up in the Nangong family, they had already left." "Wait, wasn't it Chang Jing who hurt you? How did you become the young master of the Dark Knight sect?" What was the Dark Knight sect? Gu Jiao was confused. The shopkeeper hesitated and said, "Then, General, are you going to tell the Dark Knight sect about the young master?" Nan Gongli snorted coldly. "So what if I tell them? Will they be able to kill their young sect master to avenge me? The young master hurt me, but their protector also saved me. According to the old master's nature of protecting his children, he will definitely say that the merits offset the faults. He won't put justice before family. The shopkeeper sighed and said, "The old master had a son at an old age. You don't know how much he cherishes this son. Naturally, he can't bear to punish him." Nan Gongli said coldly, "But I can't let it go." The shopkeeper's face changed slightly. "General, are you going to?" Nan Gongli didn't continue. "I have my own arrangements for this matter." Pay more attention to His Highness. Although I'm injured, I still have the military power in my hands. I'm still useful to His Highness. The shopkeeper smiled and said, "The Nangong family is now the most powerful family in the military power. His Highness thinks highly of you. When you recover, we'll send someone to kill that boy." "I know." Nan Gongli stood up lightly and accidentally pulled the wound on his broken arm. He gasped in pain and subconsciously raised his left hand to support himself. However, he accidentally knocked down a calligraphy and painting on the cabinet. The calligraphy and painting spread out on the ground. Gu Jiao took a closer look. It was a portrait of Xiaoheng. To be exact, it was a portrait of the #1 beauty of Tsonglan Academy. The beauty in the portrait was wearing plain silk and a translucent veil. She was indescribably beautiful. Nan Gongli had kidnapped Xiaoheng before and recognized Xiaoheng's face. Gu Jiao frowned slightly and clenched the silver needle in her hand. The shopkeeper bowed and rolled up the portrait. He said embarrassedly, "It's a portrait of the beauty of the 6 countries. She's the new beauty of Tsonglan Academy." Nan Gongli wasn't interested and left without looking back. Gu Jiao took back the silver needle. Through the conversation just now, Gu Jiao confirmed 2 things. First, the great Yin imperial family wanted Xiaoheng's life. Second, her sweetheart Chang Jing was the young master of the Dark Knight sect. Did Marquis Xianping know that he kidnapped the precious son of the Dark Knight sect's master? If the master of the Dark Knight sect knew, he would probably chop him with a knife. After Nan Gongli left, Gu Jiao slowly put the tile back and jumped down. Nan Gongli originally only brought a coachman who knew martial arts, so it wasn't too difficult for Gu Jiao to follow him. However, after they left the pawn shop, a group of people suddenly came to pick up Nan Gongli. Gu Jiao hesitated for a moment, and decided to stop here today, since she knew that this pawn shop was Nan Gongli's stronghold. As long as she kept an eye on it, she would meet Nan Gongli again in the future. However, her plan couldn't keep up with the changes. Xiaoheng and little Jing Kong appeared nearby. Little Jing Kong was a little taller, and his original clothes were too short. Xiaoheng brought him here to customize his clothes. Coincidentally, the embroidery building was right opposite the pawn shop. Nan Gongli and Xiaoheng's carriages stopped at the side of the road. Little Jing Kong stuck his little head out of the window and looked around curiously. When Gu Jiao saw him, she was basically sure that Xiaoheng was also in the carriage. At this time, Nan Gongli also came to the street. As long as Xiaoheng got off the carriage, Nan Gongli would be able to see him. The curtain of the carriage was lifted. A jade-like slender hand reached out from the carriage. As if there was some kind of invisible attraction, Nan Gongli subconsciously looked at the carriage opposite. Little Jing Kong jumped down first. He was so tan that he looked like a little black egg. He blended into the night and didn't show his appearance. However, Xiaoheng was too eye-catching. Just as Xiaoheng bowed and walked out of the carriage, Gu Jiao suddenly picked up a small stone beside her feet and threw it at Nan Gongli. With a bang, a big bump appeared on Nan Gongli's head. The guards around Nan Gongli and the carriage surrounded him. "Protect the general," one of the guards said. With this distraction, Xiaoheng successfully entered the embroidery building. Nan Gongli glanced at the carriage but didn't see anything. At this time, his attention was no longer on the carriage that made him feel uneasy. His whereabouts were exposed. He covered the bump on his head and shouted, "Chase after them." Yes. 8 guards rushed forward and chased in the direction where the stone was thrown. Gu Jiao was still wearing the clothes of Tianqiong Academy. It was really not a good time to fight. She quickly retreated. The other party chased after her relentlessly and divided into 3 groups to surround her. Just as she passed by a small alley, a bony hand suddenly reached over, covered her mouth, and pulled her over. Because the force was too strong, She bumped into the other party's arms. She shook one of her arms and a silver needle fell into her hand. "It's me." A familiar voice sounded in her ears. Gu Jiao pulled back her hand and turned to look at him. Mu Qingchen looked around and confirmed that Gu Jiao recognized him. He used his qinggong to take Gu Jiao to a carriage at the other end of the alley. Nangong Li's 8 guards surrounded them from different directions, and finally locked onto the carriage. The coachman wasn't there. The guards exchanged vigilant looks with each other. One of them asked, "Who's in the carriage? Come out." Mu Qingchen looked at Gu Jiao beside him, and signaled her to open the secret compartment under the seat. Gu Jiao did as she was told and found a set of brand new women's clothes inside. From the style, it seemed to be Su Shui's. "If you don't come out, we'll take action," the guard said coldly. Gu Jiao put on Su Shui's clothes. To be honest, it was a little small, but it was barely enough to cover Tianqiong Academy's uniform. Mu Qingchen's original intention was to let Gu Jiao put it on directly. He didn't know that the person beside him was a woman, so naturally, he didn't think it was inconvenient for her to change. However, seeing Gu Jiao so stubbornly put it on, he didn't suspect anything. He just thought that Gu Jiao misunderstood his intention. He lifted the curtain a little to cover Gu Jiao, and only revealed himself. Not everyone had seen young Master Qingchen before, but his clothes were extraordinary, and he had an aristocratic aura. The guards were all stunned. Mu Qingchen revealed his identity. "I'm Mu Qingchen. Who are you?" "Oh, it's young Master Qingchen." The guard who had been clamoring before saluted. "Excuse me." Young Master Qingchen was famous in Chengdu. Some people might not have seen him, but they would have heard of him. Mu Qingchen turned the tables. "Answer me. Who are you?" "Oui. The guard hesitated. Nangongli was traveling in secret, and none of the guards were wearing the Nangong family's uniform. Naturally, the guard didn't dare to take the initiative to reveal Nangong Li's identity. "They're my men." Nangong Li's voice suddenly came from the other end of the alley. His carriage slowly drove over, and the guards made way for him. The carriage stopped 10 steps away, and the coachman opened the curtain for Nangong Li. Nangong Li sat in the carriage and looked at Mu Qingchen with dignity. That was if one ignored the big bump on his head. "Young Master Mu, long time no see." Mu Qingchen politely greeted him. "So it's General Nangong. I heard that General Nangong was seriously injured, but it seems that you've recovered well." It was a lie. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he was enduring great pain all the time. Nangong Li didn't beat around the bush. He said bluntly, "I'm chasing an assassin, but I lost track of him when I came here." "Did young Master Qingchen see him?" "No," Mu Qingchen said without a change in expression. Nangong Li took a deep look at Mu Qingchen. "There seems to be another person in young Master Mu's carriage?" Nangong Li was an expert, so it wasn't difficult for him to hear another breath in the carriage. Mu Qingchen said, "It's my third sister. She caught a cold and ran to the inn to see me. I was about to send her back home." "Oh." Nangong Li was skeptical. Mu Qingchen lifted the curtain a little, revealing Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao loosened her hair, and used a hairband to tie it behind her head. She also wore a veil to cover the birthmark on her face, only revealing a pair of calm eyes. Mu Qingchen said to Gu Jiao, "It's General Nangong." He was implying that Gu Jiao should bow to Nangong Li. But why would Gu Jiao bow to such a person? Gu Jiao looked at Nangong Li and asked in her female voice, "What's the matter, General Nangong?" Her tone was a bit arrogant. Mu Qingchen almost choked. Nangong Li had been observing Gu Jiao, so he didn't notice Mu Qingchen's surprise. The Su family's status was higher than the Nangong family's. Although Nangong Li was unhappy, he didn't suspect anything. In the end, he didn't see any flaws and left with his guards. After they left, Mu Qingchen looked at Gu Jiao as if he had seen a ghost. You just, oh. Gu Jiao changed back to her teenage voice and said without any guilt, "I like to listen to operas. I learned a little." Hearing the familiar teenage voice, Mu Qingchen breathed a sigh of relief. For a moment, he almost thought that his classmate was a girl. Mu Qingchen looked at her bright eyes and realized that his heart was beating a little fast. He calmed down and said, You shouldn't dress like this in the future. It'll make people misunderstand. And don't use that voice again. Gu Jiao said. You asked me to change. Mu Qingchen choked. Gu Jiao was wearing a veil and her long hair was loose. Her cold and beautiful eyes were infinitely enlarged in his eyes. Mu Qingchen didn't dare to look at her anymore. He quickly changed the topic and asked, why did General Nangong say that you were an assassin? Did you really assassinate him? Gu Jiao said, no, I just threw a stone at him. Mu Qingchen was puzzled. Why? Gu Jiao said fiercely, because his son bullied me. I'm angry. Mu Qingchen. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1077555562. HTML Genius memorized the website's address. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion mobile version website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 655. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. Mu Qingchen couldn't refute this reason. It wasn't harmful to cause a big bump, but it was very insulting. Mu Qingchen asked, since you know he is General Nangong, how dare you throw stones at him? Gu Jiao said, is a general that great? Mu Qingchen sighed. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. When the military power of the Xianyuan family was divided into four, the Nangong family occupied the majority. Although the Nangong family was not one of the top 10 families in Chengdu, it was only because of its foundation. In terms of military power, the Nangong family was already far ahead. Mu Qingchen thought of something and asked again, by the way, how did you know he is General Nangong? Gu Jiao said, I didn't know at first, but I heard him talking to someone. He said that his son fell off the horse and was injured during the shooting competition, so I guessed it. Mu Qingchen no longer doubted anything. Gu Jiao felt it was a pity that she didn't bring any weapons or hidden weapons to the competition. If she had the black fire pearl, she would have blown Nangong Li into a pig's head. Mu Qingchen turned his head and saw Gu Jiao frowning, as if she didn't perform well. He suddenly didn't know what to say. The coachman who was sent away by Mu Qingchen came back with a stick of candied haws in his hand. Young master, there are no delicious snacks nearby, so I only bought candied haws. The coachman handed the stick to Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen didn't really want to eat candied haws. In his opinion, candied haws were something that only girls and children liked to eat. He was about to let the coachman take it away when he suddenly thought of something, and handed the stick of candied haws to Gu Jiao. Here. Oh, thank you. Gu Jiao didn't refuse. On the way back to the inn, Gu Jiao ate the stick of candied haws without hesitation. In case Nangong Li counterattacked, she didn't take off her woman's clothes, but only took off her veil. Mu Qingchen looked out of the window on the other side, occasionally glancing back at her. The way she chewed on candied haws was somewhat similar to Su Shui's. Mu Qingchen frowned. What was he thinking? Xiao Luleng was a man. Gu Jiao and Mu Qingchen both escaped through the window. At that time, the peddlers downstairs had not arrived yet. Now there was a long queue, so they had to go back to the inn through the main entrance. Wu Fuzi's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets when he saw the two people coming over from the staircase. When did you two go out? I've been waiting here for a long time. Wu Fuzi exploded. What are you doing? Gu Jiao said. Yeah, I just walked around. Wu Fuzi clenched his fists and glared at Mu Qingchen. What about you? Mu Qingchen glanced at Gu Jiao and said, I just accompanied him for a walk. Wu Fuzi was so angry that he fell backwards. No wonder he was a freshman who got 2 demerits in 10 days. He ran around as soon as he arrived and led an excellent student like Mu Qingchen astray. The competition was imminent, so it was impossible to punish him. Wu Fuzi secretly remembered this. If you don't win tomorrow, I'll double the punishment when we return to the academy. The two went back to their respective rooms. Mu Qingchen wanted to rest, but he could not fall asleep when he thought of what happened just now. He had a feeling that Xiao Lulang was hiding something from him. It was a strange feeling, as if he was caught in a fog. The truth was behind the fog, but he could not get rid of it. Mu Qingchen decided to ask his classmate again. Wu Fuzi was guarding the door. Wu Fuzi would not stop him from visiting openly. However, for some reason Mu Qingchen chose to sneak in through the window. He could not explain why. He hooked the window frame with one hand, and jumped onto the roof. He walked past Mu Chuan's room, and jumped into Gu Jiao's room through the window. However, Gu Jiao was nowhere to be seen. Yes, Gu Jiao had gone out again. It was impossible for her to stay in her room, not in this lifetime. However, this time, Gu Jiao was more careful than the first time. Even Mu Qingchen, who was highly vigilant, was not alarmed. Mu Qingchen furrowed his brows. Why did he suddenly have a feeling of unhappiness? Gu Jiao used the same method. She climbed onto the roof from the window and jumped into the alley. She returned to the pawnshop. Nangong Li's guards had already left. The pawnshop was deserted as usual. Only a few pedestrians passed by occasionally, but not many people went in to inquire. However, Gu Jiao's attention was not on the pawnshop, but on the embroidery building opposite. The carriage was gone. Gu Jiao tilted her head slightly, and continued to walk towards the other side. She took off the Tianqiong Academy uniform, and put on a nocturnal suit that was easy to hide. Just as she arrived at the door of the embroidery building, a carriage suddenly drove over, and stopped beside her. The person in the carriage did not speak, but a corner of the curtain was blown up by the night wind. A familiar aura drifted over faintly. Gu Jiao jumped into the carriage almost without thinking. There was an adult and a child in the carriage. There was no light. The child was so sleepy that he fell asleep in someone's arms. However, the adult was in high spirits, without a trace of tiredness. Gu Jiao sat down beside him. Why haven't you left yet? Xiao Heng faintly curled his lips. What about you? Why are you back? Waiting for you. Looking for you. One did not know that she would come back. The other did not know that he had not left. However, they still came here together. Nangong Li didn't see you, right? Gu Jiao asked. No. When Gu Jiao threw a stone at Nangong Li, Xiao Heng felt that something was wrong. He did not look back. He held little Jing Kong's hand, and walked quickly into the shop. In fact, he did not see Gu Jiao. He only saw Nangong Li. However, he knew that except for Gu Jiao, no one would divert Nangong Li's attention. Are you hurt? Xiao Heng asked. No. Gu Jiao said. They didn't catch me. Xiao Heng looked at Gu Jiao up and down with the help of the thin moonlight, and the candlelight on the street. He opened her palm and slit his fingertips gently to see if there were any hidden wounds. After confirming that there were no wounds, he said, Then he did not withdraw his hand. He just held Gu Jiao's small hand and rubbed her palm with his fingertips to comfort her. A girl's hand was always soft, small and slender. He could completely cover it with his big palm. Gu Jiao looked at the hand he was holding and felt the intimacy he inadvertently revealed. She knew what had happened to her. This was a pair of hands stained with blood. They had dug through mountains of corpses and bones and taken people's heads. His hand was clean. It was so clean that Gu Jiao did not even want to let a speck of dust touch it. At this moment, this clean hand clasped hers tightly, as if he wanted to pull her out of the sea of corpses and blood. Jiao Jiao. Little Jing Kong's sleep-talking broke the temporary silence in the carriage. Gu Jiao withdrew her hand from Xiao Heng's grasp and touched little Jing Kong's back. She found that he was sweating. She took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat and said to Xiao Heng, 2 things. Xiao Heng looked at her retracted hand and frowned imperceptibly. Gu Jiao said, the people who want to kill you are the royal family of the Yan dynasty. The royal family of the Yan dynasty? Xiao Heng looked thoughtful. Also, Gu Jiao continued, Chang Jing is the young master of the Dark Knight sect. She is the young master of the Dark Knight sect. This news was shocking. Xiao Heng always thought that Chang Jing was just an ordinary secret guard. What is the Dark Knight sect? Gu Jiao wanted to ask for a long time. It's an assassin organization that doesn't belong to any country. Xiao Heng didn't know much about it. He paid more attention to the affairs of the imperial court and only heard about it occasionally in Jianghu. Soon, the carriage stopped at the door of the inn where Gu Jiao and the others lived. In fact, Gu Jiao did not say where she lived after getting on the carriage. However, if a person really wanted to know, he or she could find out about Tianqiong Academy by any means possible. Therefore, there was no such thing as being powerless in this world. It was just a matter of whether you put your heart into it or not. In the past, it was Gu Jiao who sent Xiao Heng. When they were in the countryside, she walked dozens of miles to send him to the town to study. After they came to the capital, she always sent him to the Imperial College and Hanlin Academy. Gu Jiao was not used to being suddenly sent back by Xiao Heng. She pulled her little ears and said, "Then I'm leaving." Xiao Heng gently tugged at her sleeve and said, "You're leaving just like that?" Gu Jiao, who could kill a cow with a hammer, was pulled by someone's slender fingers. She looked over in confusion and said, Xiao Heng raised his head. The moonlight fell on his handsome jade-like face. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. "Aren't there two things? What's the other thing?" Gu Jiao said seriously. "The mastermind behind this is the great Yan royal family. Chang Jing is the young master of the Dark Knight sect. These are two things." Xiao Heng looked at her with a faint smile and said, "These are all information. Telling them information can only be considered one thing." Could he be so serious about words? Xiao Heng's fingertips slid down her sleeve and grabbed her slightly cold fingers. He gently hooked them and stood up. The carriage was not very high, so he could only bend down. He held Gu Jiao's hand with one hand and supported himself with the other by Gu Jiao's side. He pressed down on Gu Jiao. His unique aura suddenly enveloped Gu Jiao. A ray of moonlight shone through the gap in the curtains and shone on his eyes. She used to think that Jing Kong was an eyelash demon. Now that she looked at it carefully, she realized that Xiao Heng was one too. Gu Jiao was stunned again. Xiao Heng was angry and amused at the same time. He had mustered up so much courage to do such a shameless thing. But she only cared about admiring his face. Gu Jiao sat in the carriage and stared at him without blinking. Xiao Heng raised the hand that was playing with her fingertips and gently pinched her chin. He asked in a hoarse voice, "Did you remember the other thing?" After his voice had completely changed, Xiao Heng's voice became more and more pleasant. It was young, clean, and had the attractive charm of a mature man. Gu Jiao's little soul was hooked away. Xiao Heng laughed softly and lowered his body. "Gu Jiao, remember, this is only the second thing." With that, he tilted his head slightly and kissed her lips in the carriage. The next day, the people from Tianqiong Academy rode their horses to Lingbo Academy after breakfast at the inn. The archery field was already surrounded by people who had come to watch the competition. The seats in the stands were basically all reserved. What was different was that Gu Jiao actually found a small area of blue and white among the colorful uniforms. Were the students from Tianqiong Academy coming to watch the competition? There weren't many people, only a dozen or so. They seemed especially weak among the hundreds of people in the academy. Wu Fuzi was very excited. "It's our academy's students. Our academy students are also here." After so many matches, this was the first time someone from his own team was watching. Wu Fuzi was so happy that tears almost came out of his eyes. Zhong Ding and Zhou Tong waved at them. Gu Jiao and Mu Qingchen had already urged their horses to go to the pavilion. Mu Chuan waved at them enthusiastically. Zhao Wei had a stomachache last time and didn't go on stage. This time he was extra careful. His archery skills were better than Mu Chuan's. If he went on stage, Mu Chuan could only be a substitute. Fortunately, Mu Chuan didn't have any objections. After drawing lots, Wu Fuzi said, "We're in the third round again." Mu Chuan hurriedly said, "The third round is good. I didn't wake up in the first round, and the following rounds were too hot." Wu Fuzi agreed. "Yes, the third round is the best round in the morning. We were lucky twice in a row." Only Gu Jiao frowned. She seemed to be dissatisfied. "What's wrong?" Mu Qingchen asked. "Nothing. Before Xiao Heng left last night, He told her that he was going to investigate something this morning. Mu Qingchen glanced at Gu Jiao and his eyes fell on her neck. Don't you turn off the mosquito net when you sleep? Yes. Gu Jiao pulled her collar without changing her expression. Mu Chuan continued to ask Wu Fuzi, which academy will we be fighting against? Wu Fuzi said, Pingyang Academy. The competition lasted for 2 days, and Pingyang Academy was on the second day. They didn't see Pingyang Academy's performance, but they were able to make it to the second round. Gu Jiao saw that Mu Qingchen pursed his thin lips and didn't say a word. She asked, What's wrong? Is this academy difficult to fight against? Mu Qingchen thought for a moment and said, Pingyang Academy is one of the few academies that is good at both civil and martial arts. Their fencing teacher used to be the best fencer in the royal family. Su Ping was taught by him. After he was injured, he couldn't fencer anymore, so he went to the academy to become a teacher. As he spoke, he paused for a moment before adding, Their overall level is very high, and their coordination is excellent. No fencer in Pingyang Academy could be as good as Su Ping, but the basic strength of a team was often determined by the weakest one, not the strongest one. Su Ping was good, but Nangong Lin and the other two couldn't keep up with his pace. He couldn't lead the 3 of them by himself. Mu Chuan said bitterly, Fourth brother, I've never heard you praise anyone, but you just praised them twice. Do you mean we're going to lose? Yuan Xiao said, Don't belittle yourself before you even fight. Zhao Wei said, I agree. Mu Chuan muttered, Is this a matter of agreement or not? It's a matter of losing miserably. Gu Jiao asked casually while wrapping the bandage around her wrist, By the way, what's the reward for winning the fencer competition? You don't know? Mu Qingchen looked at her strangely. I don't know. No one had told her. Mu Qingchen frowned and looked away. I thought you were going for the reward. If you get 3rd place, you can have a piece of inner city talisman. The 2nd place will get 1,000 taels of gold. Gu Jiao's bandaged hand paused. Gu Chongqing fought desperately at the border. And the Emperor of Zhao Kingdom only rewarded him with 1,000 taels of silver after he came back. Was the Emperor of Yin Kingdom so generous? What's the reward for the 1st place? Gu Jiao asked. Mu Qingchen said with some reverence, The 1st place will have the opportunity to enter the palace to meet the Emperor. Gu Jiao entered the battle mode in a second. How many matches do we have to play until the last round? Mu Qingchen was stunned by her sudden fighting spirit. He said, Including today, if we don't lose a single match, there will be 3 matches left. But who could guarantee that they could play until the last match? Fight! Gu Jiao grabbed the cue stick and walked out valiantly. Digression, fever, discomfort, please forgive little June. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1077333908. HTML Genius memorized the website address www.zhhbqg.com. Bkuj mobile reading website zhhbqg.com. Chapter 656. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that you can't find on the internet are available here. Tianqiong Academy had successfully defeated Qingyue Academy in the last round, which was quite impressive. They were looking forward to the duel between Tianqiong Academy and Pingyang Academy. They wondered what kind of tricks the freshmen would play this time. Mu Qingchen was the leader. Last time, Mu Chuan and Yuan Xiao followed him, and Gu Jiao was his tail. Today, Mu Chuan was a substitute and replaced Zhao Wei. However, Zhao Wei and Yuan Xiao both gave the 2nd place to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It didn't make any difference to her whether she was 2nd or 4th. As soon as Mu Qingchen entered the arena, all the girls in the stands became excited. They were in ancient times, where etiquette was very strict. If they were in modern times, Gu Jiao would probably hear a lot of girls calling him hubby. Young Master Qingchen. Young Master Qingchen. There was really a bold girl who shouted at Mu Qingchen. Anyway, she was wearing a veil, so no one could recognize her. Her shout was like an opening, and the people around her also waved their handkerchiefs and shouted. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. You have so many fangirls. In fact, there were already enough fangirls last time. After winning the archery competition, Mu Qingchen's popularity soared again, and many girls who didn't belong to him came through the back door to watch him perform archery. Amidst the cheers of young Master Qingchen, Gu Jiao actually heard someone call out, "Young Master Xiao." Obviously, Mu Qingchen heard it too. When he was called Young Master Qingchen, Mu Qingchen didn't even bat an eyelid. However, when Gu Jiao was called Young Master Xiao, he couldn't help but turn his head to look in that direction. There was a sea of people, so how could he see who was calling? Wherever his gaze swept across, the young ladies all clutched their chests. They were about to faint. Young Master Qingchen was looking in their direction? Did he hear them calling him? He didn't look anywhere but at them. Is young Master Qingchen looking at me? I think he's looking at me. It was me. Mu Qingchen's action was just a subconscious one. When he realized it, he frowned slightly and quickly looked away. Gu Jiao, on the other hand, glanced at the crowd a few more times. Oh, where are her fangirls? It was gone after a single cry. Its combat power was too weak. Xiao Heng had something to do in the morning, so he didn't come, but the grandstand he used last time was still reserved for him. The 3 students of the Azure Water Women's Academy were sitting in their respective seats with smiles on their faces. The seat closest to the front was reserved for the number 1 beauty. Thanks to the blessing of the number 1 beauty, they could once again comfortably watch bowls in the shady pavilion. The people next door were still from the public house. Second Master Jing sat upright on the cushion while Second Foreign sat beside him in a dignified and elegant manner. Second Madam smiled and poured a cup of fruit wine for Second Master Jing. She said gently, "Didn't my husband want to come and watch the bow? Why aren't you saying anything?" Second Master Jing was as still as a bell. "Don't you know why I'm not saying anything? I can't even watch the beauty," he muttered softly with hidden bitterness. "What did my husband say?" Second Madam didn't hear him clearly. Second Master Jing's eyelids drooped helplessly. "Nothing. I'm just worried about eldest brother." Second Madam turned her head to look at the Duke beside her. "With Miss Mu here, eldest brother will be fine." The Duke sat in a wheelchair with Mu Ru Xian by his side. Originally, Second Madam didn't plan to bring the Duke to watch the bow competition. After all, he had just recovered from his cold and needed to rest. However, Mu Ru Xian said that it would be good for the Duke's condition to move around. The Duke stared at the bow without blinking. Mu Ru Xian wasn't sure if he was conscious, but she still smiled and asked, "Duke, do you like to watch the bow competition?" The Duke couldn't answer. Mu Ru Xian continued, "I heard that Madame Jing is good at the bow competition." Madame Jing, Jing Yinyan's birth mother, was the eldest daughter of the Xianyuan family. The children of the Xianyuan family were all highly skilled in martial arts. Riding and shooting was nothing difficult for them. The Duke's face seemed to twitch slightly. When Mu Ru Xian looked at the Duke again, he was gone. "Young miss, this is the spring water you wanted." The maid passed a porcelain bottle filled with spring water to Mu Ru Xian in high spirits. It's said that Lingbo Academy has a natural spring water that is drawn down from the mountain using a water wheel. "Young miss, quickly taste it. Is it sweet?" Mu Ru Xian glanced at her and took the porcelain bottle. "I know. I'll drink it later." The maid smiled and lowered her eyes before retreating to Mu Ru Xian's side. "Aya, Mr. Qingchen is here." A female student from Songlan Academy couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. Mu Ru Xian had seen Mu Qingchen up close in the Duke's residence before, but she wasn't as excited as them. She inadvertently glanced at the Duke and noticed that he seemed to be very excited. His fingers, which were placed on the armrest, trembled slightly. His empty eyes seemed to have regained their spirit. This was the 3rd round of the competition. The Duke hadn't been like this in the previous 2 rounds. If it was in the past, She wouldn't have asked about anything other than the treatment. However, it was different now. Her position in the Duke's heart was getting higher and higher, and it might even be higher in the future. Naturally, she was more confident than before. She turned her head and looked at Second Master Jing and his wife on the other side. She asked, "Second Master Jing, Second Madam, are Mr. Qing Chen and the Duke old friends?" Of course they were old friends. Otherwise, Mu Qingchen wouldn't have brought a doctor over to treat the Duke. The reason Mu Ru Xian asked this question was because she wanted to know more about the two of them. There wasn't anything that couldn't be said. Second Master Jing said, "When Yin was young, my eldest brother brought her to live in the Snow Cloud Manor for a period of time. Mu Qingchen happened to live in the manor next door. Mu Qingchen's handwriting was taught by my eldest brother." "I see." Mu Ru Xian nodded. It was no wonder the Duke had such a reaction when he saw Mu Qingchen. He probably saw Mu Qingchen as his favorite student. Mu Ru Xian couldn't help but look at Mu Qingchen again. Coincidentally, Gu Jiao rode her horse over from behind. Mu Ru Xian immediately saw her face. "Why is it him?" Mu Ru Xian looked at Second Master Jing in disbelief. "Second Master Jing, didn't you tell me that you beat him so badly that he couldn't get out of bed? You even compensated him with 500 taels. Look at him now. Does he look like he was injured before?" Second Master Jing instantly choked. F***CK, I forgot about this. Last time Mu Ru Xian's arm was dislocated by Gu Jiao. Mu Ru Xian used the excuse of treating the Duke's illness to force him to capture that brat. Who would have thought that not only would he not be captured, he would also lose 500 taels. He lost face and naturally wouldn't admit it. He could only say that he originally wanted to capture him, but that brat wouldn't comply no matter what. He didn't control his strength and ended up crippling him. Second Madam also looked at Second Master Jing. "That's right. That's what you also told me." Second Master Jing coughed lightly and looked at Gu Jiao, who was practicing on the field. He said seriously, I did beat him up. Who told him to recover so quickly?" In order to divert attention, he stood up and went behind his eldest brother's wheelchair. "Eldest brother likes to watch Mu Qingchen hit the bow, right? Come. Let's go and watch." After saying that, he decisively pushed his wheelchair to the side of the railing. After the players from Tianqiong Academy were in position, the players from Pingyang Academy entered the field from the other side of the track. All four of them were dressed in black and held golf clubs in their hands. Their eyes were piercingly cold as they rode on tall horses. The aura of the four people and four horses was too strong. It was as if a strong murderous aura had shrouded the entire field in an instant. Zhao Wei suddenly touched his arm. "What's wrong? Yuan Xiao, don't mention it." He also felt cold. Gu Jiao was still playing with her golf club. When she heard the sound of horse hooves coming from afar, she raised her head slightly. At this moment, the four students from Pingyang Academy had already arrived in front of them. She clearly felt that except for Mu Qingchen's horse, her, Zhao Wei, and Yuan Zhao's horses all shivered and retreated a few steps. The game hadn't even started, and the horses were already scared. Gu Jiao frowned. The leader of the students from Pingyang Academy glanced at them. His eyes lingered on Gu Jiao's face for a while, but finally he looked at Mu Qingchen and said with a confident smile, "I watched the game last time. Indeed, you have some tricks up your sleeves. However, I'm afraid you won't be so lucky this time." Mu Qingchen said indifferently, "You forced the Han family to send out the Black Wind Cavalry. It's enough to show how much you fear Tianqiong Academy." Gu Jiao caught two key words, the Han family and the Black Wind Cavalry. The corner of the man's mouth twitched. He tightened the reins and turned his horse around. "Let's see who will win." "The Han family?" Gu Jiao turned to look at Mu Qingchen. To be able to become one of the four great families of Xingdu, every disciple of the family is proficient in both the pen and the sword. Back then, Mu Qingchen paused. There were some things that he didn't know whether he should say or not, but when he saw Gu Jiao's thirsty eyes, he sighed and said it. After the Xianyuan family's rebellion failed, the military power was divided into four families. The Nangong family had the most, followed by the Han family, the Wang family, and the Mu family. It's worth mentioning that the Xianyuan family's cavalry was assigned to the Han family, which is the Black Wind Cavalry. In order to ensure the strength and purity of the bloodline, the breeding of the Black Wind Cavalry is very strict. Of course, the training is stricter. Gu Jiao grunted and looked at his mount. She asked, "Why isn't your horse afraid?" Mu Qingchen stroked his horse's head to comfort it. "It's not that my horse isn't afraid. It's just that I've stabilized it with my internal energy." Gu Jiao looked at Mu Qingchen's horse, and then looked at the 3 horses that were trembling. "So when we go on the field later," Mu Qingchen took a deep breath and said, "Let's leave it to fate." In this world, there was no horse that was more valiant and good at fighting than the Black Wind Cavalry. Just like how there would be pressure between experts, it was the same for horses. Wherever the Black Wind Cavalry appeared, tens of thousands of horses would retreat. On the spectators' stand, many people who had seen the Black Wind Cavalry before felt sorry for the Tianqiong Academy. "It's over, it's over. It's all over now." Second Master Jing looked at the small figure on the field whose aura was similar to his brother-in-law's, and sighed helplessly. "Why is it over?" Muru Xian walked over and asked in confusion. She was from the Chen Kingdom and didn't understand the political affairs of the Yan Kingdom. Second Master Jing pointed at the mounts of the Pingyang Academy and said, "Do you see those horses? Those aren't ordinary horses. They are the Black Wind Cavalry." Hearing the Black Wind Cavalry, Muru Xian was shocked speechless. It was rumored that the Xianyuan cavalry was valiant and good at fighting. 10,000 of them could conquer a city and 100,000 could conquer a country. They relied on the invincible Black Wind Cavalry of the Xianyuan family. It was rumored that this kind of horse was more ferocious and domineering than ordinary war horses. They were known as the men of sacrifice among horses. "Is it necessary to have a match?" Second Master Jing muttered. He knew clearly whether it was necessary or not. The Han family and the Mu family didn't get along well with each other. The young master of the Han family probably wanted to trample Mu Qingchen under his feet. That was why he sent out the Black Wind Cavalry. Sigh. Second Master Jing grabbed his collar impatiently. "Annoying. I don't want to watch anymore." Wait. What was he annoyed about? Wasn't it exactly what he wanted when that brat's academy lost? Second young Master Jing smirked and stared at the boxing field with his bright and spirited eyes. The gong sounded and the match officially started. The first ball was from the Tianqiong Academy. As the team leader, Mu Qingchen personally kicked the ball to stabilize the team's morale. He shot the ball in the direction of Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao had already understood his intention and was ready to receive the ball. However, before he could swing his club, the horse under him jumped in fright and almost threw him off the back of the horse. When he stabilized himself, the ball had already been snatched away by the students of the Pingyang Academy. The horses of the Tianqiong Academy couldn't outrun the Black Wind Cavalry. Once the people of the Pingyang Academy got the ball, there was basically no room to maneuver. This feeling was a bit like riding an electric scooter to chase a Lamborghini. Could she catch up with it? At the end of the first section, the Pingyang Academy got 3 flags and the Tianqiong Academy didn't. At the end of the second section, the Pingyang Academy got 3 more flags and the Tianqiong Academy got 1. Mu Qingchen attacked from afar. At the end of the third section, the Pingyang Academy got 4 flags and the Tianqiong Academy got 1. Gu Jiao attacked from afar. "If this goes on, we'll definitely lose, right?" Zhong Ding whispered in the stands of the Tianqiong Academy. Zhou Tong looked tense. "I believe in Xiao Lulang." Another student said weakly. "It's mainly because the horses of the Pingyang Academy are too fast and fierce." After the 4 sections, the first half ended. The score was 12-2 and the Tianqiong Academy got 2 flags. It was over. They had no chance at all. They had finally regained their confidence and came to watch a match, but they were about to lose completely. The students of the Tianqiong Academy hung listlessly on the railings like eggplants that had been hit by frost. In the waiting room, Wu Fuzi was so angry that his hair stood on end. Why did they use the Black Wind Cavalry? This is too much. Isn't it obvious that they are bullying us? They used ordinary horses in the last section. The horses of the aristocratic families were not ordinary, but it depended on who they were compared to. In front of the Black Wind cavalry, 10,000 horses could kneel. Wu Fuzi could not take this lying down. He rolled up his sleeves and said, "No, I'll go and reason with their dean. You're allowed to steal the skills on the spot, but we're not allowed to use the Black Wind cavalry?" A mocking voice sounded at the door. Everyone looked toward the source of the voice. It was the Pingyang Academy's young master Han Che. He crossed his arms and leaned against the door frame. He smiled and said, "Did our academy break the rules?" Wu Fuzi was completely speechless with this sentence. Yes, there was no rule that forbade the use of the Black Wind cavalry, but that was because the person who made the rule did not expect that one day someone would ride the Black Wind cavalry to attack the bow. You're using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. Is this how you use the Black Wind cavalry? Han Che smiled contemptuously and said, "See you in the arena." Wu Fuzi clenched his fists and gritted his teeth to suppress his anger. He turned to Gu Jiao and said, "Xiao Lulang, your horse can't be used anymore. You have to change to another one. The academy's horses are all in the stables. Do you want to pick one, or should I?" Gu Jiao's attack was the fiercest when she was blocking Pingyang Academy's path. Her horse was also the most frightened. On one hand, it was the pressure from the Black Wind cavalry, and on the other hand, it was the threat from its master. Gu Jiao said, "I'll go." "That's true. It's all the same." There was no horse in the stables that was not afraid of the Black Wind cavalry. The stables of the various academies were separated. There were guards outside the stables, and each academy's members could only enter their own stables. Tianqiong Academy's stables were the innermost. Gu Jiao walked forward. As she walked, she suddenly felt a small black shadow flash past her. She tilted her head and frowned slightly. In the next second, the small black shadow flashed past her again. Gu Jiao narrowed her eyes and walked a few steps forward. When the small black shadow flashed past her for the third time, she decisively reached out her hand and caught the small black shadow. The small black shadow was lifted and hung in the air. Gu Jiao took a closer look and was instantly stunned. Jing Kong. She always used a teenage voice when she spoke outside, but little Jing Kong was familiar with her teenage voice. Little Jing Kong raised his head and shouted, "Jiao Jiao." Little Jing Kong threw himself into Gu Jiao's arms. Gu Jiao took advantage of the situation and hugged him. "Why are you here? Aren't you in class?" Xiao Heng said that he would send the little guy to Lingbo Academy before he went to do anything else. Little Jing Kong widened his eyes in a second. "I didn't skip class." Gu Jiao was speechless. Very well, it was a fact that he skipped class. Gu Jiao put the little guy on the ground and asked him to stand properly. Then she bent down slightly and looked at him at eye level. She asked seriously, "Why did you skip class?" Little Jing Kong lowered his head and grabbed his little pocket. Gu Jiao pointed at the part of his pocket that his little hand was covering. "What's in your pocket? Take it out." Little Jing Kong took it out guiltily. It's little flower and little rope. I want to braid little Shi's hair." Gu Jiao was slightly stunned. Little Jing Kong mustered up his courage and raised his head. But I finished all my homework. I've also memorized the teacher's lessons. I really learned everything before I came out." "Little Shi is here?" Gu Jiao asked. The little guy nodded and said pitifully, "Yes, I miss little Shi so much. Last time, I told Brother Xiaoshan that if he and Brother Yin came again, he would secretly bring little Shi over for me to play with." Digression. Why didn't they use the Horse King at the beginning? It was because the horses were afraid of it. Once it appeared, their own horses would kneel down first. Moreover, the Horse King had to work at home. It had to pull the cart and grind the mill. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel was updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels were free to read. There were all kinds of novels that couldn't be found online. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/10771334. HTML Genius memorized the website's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikago mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 657. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that you can't find on the internet are available here. The break was about to end. All the archers mounted their horses and slowly returned to the field. Pingyang Academy's performance was too eye-catching. The moment they appeared, cheers rose and fell from all directions. Hanche rode at the very front. He was tall, handsome, and spirited. Between his brows, there was a carefree and confident feeling that victory was within his grasp. In Chengdu, he was not as famous as Mu Qingchen, but the best way to make a name for oneself was to step on the most famous person. Now that he had defeated Mu Qingchen, everyone would say that he was the same Hanche who defeated young Master Qingchen. Hanche led his team to meet Mu Qingchen, and the other two. Pingyang Academy was arrogant. The two sides were just facing each other on their horses, but everyone felt that this place was about to become a terrible battlefield. Mu Chuan looked back and whispered, "Why aren't they here yet?" Wu Fuzi asked Zhao Wei to take a break and let Mu Chuan play a small part. The main reason was that Mu Chuan and Gu Jiao cooperated well in the previous round. Yuan Shao whispered, "I don't know. They're probably still choosing their horses." Mu Chuan was helpless. "It's about to start. We'll break the rules if they don't come soon." The two of them spoke very softly, but Mu Qingchen and Hanche, who had good hearing, almost missed a word. Hanche sneered. "Could it be that the people from your academy were scared of us and decided to run away?" "Haha." The other three people laughed. Mu Chuan snorted. "Who's running away? Do you think everyone is like the Han family, abandoning the city and running away when the enemy comes? You." Hanche's face turned cold. There was a story about the Han family abandoning the city and running away. When the Turks invaded and attacked the border of the Yan kingdom, they used a trick to trick the Han family into thinking that the Turks had an army of 10,000. Therefore, the Han family fled with the people that night. But it was not a city, it was a small village. Besides, they were not running away, they were evacuating the people. Mu Chuan knew what he was thinking. He snorted. "You're just a coward." Hanche's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as the veins on his forehead bulged violently. His companion gave him a look, telling him not to get angry so easily. It was not good to go on the field with anger. It was easy to mess up the formation and cause a foul and a penalty kick. Hanche took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He looked at Mu Chuan with amusement and said, "Don't even think about provoking me. Today your Heaven's Vault Academy will definitely lose." In the second half, I won't let you get a single goal. Mu Chuan was so angry that he almost slapped him with his golf club. What's so great about that? Wasn't it all because of the Black Wind Cavalry? If you have the ability, change to another horse and fight with us. Hanche did not get angry. Instead he laughed. "It's my ability to have the Black Wind Cavalry. If you have the ability, go get some Black Wind Cavalry for the Mu clan too." Where did Mu Chuan get it? Really? Why didn't the Mu family get the Black Wind Cavalry when they divided the military power of the Xianyuan family? No one knew if Hanche did it intentionally or not, but he gently pulled on the reins. The Black Wind horse under him suddenly took 2 steps towards Tianqiong Academy. Mu Chuan's and Yuan Zhao's horses neighed in fear as they retreated and tried to escape. "Referee. He's breaking the rules," Mu Chuan said to the referee. The referee looked over. Hanche curled his lips and said with a smile, "My horses didn't touch them. They were the ones who were scared." Mu Chuan gritted his teeth and said, "You're shameless." "Mu Chuan." Mu Qingchen calmly called out to him. Mu Chuan unwillingly suppressed the anger in his heart. He was so angry. He wanted to beat this bastard to death. The conflict between the Han family and the Mu clan was not new. The Han family was a new aristocrat while the Mu clan was a century-old prosperous family. The Han family had always wanted to provoke the Mu clan and replace them. Hanche smiled. "The match has started. If you don't have any substitutes, then. Before he could finish his sentence, a series of strange gasps came from the crowd behind him. He frowned and turned to look in the direction of the entrance. He immediately saw the students of Heaven's Vault Academy, riding over on a black horse. Let's not talk about the students for now. What's up with that horse? His entire body was black and shiny. He wore a big red flower on his head and his horse's mane was tied with a red string braid. He walked with an arrogant and elegant gait. Anche was stunned when he saw him. An absurd thought flashed through his mind. How could it be so enchanting? Why didn't you give it a flaming red lip? In fact, little Jing Kong did steal his bad brother-in-law's rouge. However, Gu Jiao caught him too quickly and didn't have time to apply it on little Shi. Anche recognized the student on the horse. Then he felt unwell. What was this kid's name again? Xiao Luang, right? Are you here to bow or to act as a matchmaker? F***ck. Second Master Jing spat out a mouthful of tea. How could there be such an eye-catching horse? Did Heaven's Vault Academy change their strategy? Since they couldn't outrun you, they decided to blind you? Muru Xian covered her mouth with her handkerchief. She also felt that Gu Jiao was fooling around. Who was she trying to embarrass by riding such a horse? He made himself look like a clown. The Duke on the wheelchair suddenly felt strange. His hand gripped the armrest tightly. Because he used too much strength, his arm trembled slightly. Muru Xian noticed his strange behavior and hurriedly asked, "Duke, what's wrong? Don't you want to watch?" Second Master Jing looked at the horse and then looked at his elder brother. He said, "My elder brother really can't watch this. The red flower is on one side of the ponytail but not the other. My elder brother feels uncomfortable when he sees it." Muru Xian was speechless. Did the Duke have such a problem? Everyone was in position. The match started from Heaven's Vault Academy. The bowers from Heaven's Vault Academy urged their horses to move to the side. One of the bowers from Pingyang Academy smiled and said to Han Che, "Look, their horses are trembling even more than in the first half." Another bower looked and saw that it was true. He sneered, "They must be scared of us. Now they're trembling in fear when they see us." Our horses also seem to be trembling a little. They're trembling because of excitement. The people from Heaven's Vault Academy were all silent. Even though it was different from before, and looked more like a horse concubine than a horse king, it was still their academy's mount. They could still recognize it. Mu Chuan muttered softly, "Why did you ride it here? Can't you see that our own horses can't move?" Gu Jiao was a little confused. Oh, how could they still recognize it when it was already so well equipped? Did these horses have a special way of recognizing horses? Gu Jiao said, "But there's no horse more ferocious than it." Mu Chuan didn't dare to raise his voice for fear that the people from Pingyang Academy would eavesdrop. He gritted his teeth and said, "Then how are we going to play later?" Gu Jiao thought for a moment and said, "Stay away from me later." Yuan Shao kicked off the ball. Gu Jiao and Mu Chuan switched positions. Mu Chuan was the assistant bower. Yuan Zhao's kick was excellent. It drew a beautiful and neat arc in the air. He directly swung his club in Mu Qingchen's direction. The people from Pingyang Academy seemed to have seen through his actions. Two of the bowers chased after Mu Qingchen. In terms of speed, their Black Wind cavalry was definitely not inferior to the horses from Heaven's Vault Academy. However, something was wrong as they ran. Whoosh! A black shadow dashed past him. The speed was unimaginably fast. It could only be described as scuttling. The two of them were stunned. Wait, is it that ugly horse? Is it so good at running? Haha, we didn't use our full speed, okay? Hiya. The two of them tacitly increased the speed of their horses. However, no matter how fast they sped up, the distance between them and the ugly black horse grew bigger and bigger. The horse's king left them in the dust. At this moment, Mu Qingchen snatched the ball. The horse's king chased after Mu Qingchen's horse. Mu Qingchen's horse was so scared that it used all its strength to charge forward. Fourth brother. Mu Chuan urged his horse and waved at Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen saw Mu Chuan's speed and threw the ball in front of Mu Chuan. The ball was very close to Pingyang Academy's hole. As long as Mu Chuan caught the ball, the flag would be theirs. Han Che and another comrade attacked Mu Chuan from both sides. Mu Chuan turned around to take a look and shouted, "No way! Why are you all coming at me?" His horse was no match for the Black Wind cavalry. There was no way he could outrun them. Sure enough, Han Che leaped over Mu Qingchen and looked at the polo ball that was falling from the sky. He stretched out his cue stick and hit the polo ball. He didn't touch the ball. His horse suddenly went astray. His body swayed and he was almost thrown off by his horse. "What's going on? Who told you to run around?" The horses used for arching had been trained for a long time. They were familiar with their master's orders and wouldn't easily disobey them. However, this wasn't the most shocking thing. On the other side, Mu Chuan still didn't get the ball even after Han Che was taken care of. The ball was snatched by another archer from Pingyang Academy. The archer tightened his grip on the reins and planned to turn around. He wanted to hit the ball into Tianqiong Academy's hole. But before he could move, his horse trembled all over, as if it had been greatly frightened. He was caught off guard and the ball slipped away. Mu Chuan hooked the ball over and hit a hole in the hole. The referee said, "Tianqiong Academy wins a flag." On the spectator stand, a student from Lingbo Academy clapped. "Wow. They got a flag at the beginning of the game. That's too fast." His companion beside him said, "Even Pingyang Academy didn't score so smoothly, right?" Zhongding raised his chin and said proudly, "It's from our academy." A disdainful voice came from behind. "So what? You're still behind Pingyang Academy by 11 flags. Can you catch up?" Zhongding and Zhou Tong looked back. It was a student from Wuyue Academy. No wonder. Zhou Tong straightened his back and said, "We won't lose. Just wait and see." They were no longer weak scholars who could be bullied by others. The student from Wuyue Academy mocked, "What if you lose?" Zhou Tong rolled up his sleeves. "If we lose, we'll kowtow to you and call you daddy. If we win, you'll kowtow to us and call us daddy." Don't regret it. The game continued. Strictly speaking, the Black Wind Cavalry was also the descendant of the Wild Horse King. However, after being bred in captivity, their wildness was greatly reduced. Unlike the Wild Horse King, they emitted the aura of a Wild Horse King. The horses from Tianqiong Academy didn't dare to get close to them. Although the Black Wind Cavalry was braver, they weren't much better. Therefore, a strange scene appeared. Gu Jiao rode the Horse King like a big bad wolf that entered a flock of sheep. Wherever she went, the sheep would scatter. Gu Jiao didn't try to snatch the ball. She only did one thing: chase after the Black Wind Cavalry from Pingyang Academy. If one wasn't enough, she would chase two. If two wasn't enough, she would chase three. The Horse King was full of energy and didn't feel tired at all. The main thing was that this was much more fun than grinding. It didn't even need to be tied into pigtails. Thinking of its ordinary and boring grinding life, the Horse King decided to cherish this short period of joy that was hard to come by. In the end, everyone saw Gu Jiao chasing 4 horses by herself. The Black Wind Cavalry was on the brink of tears. When they were fighting against Qingyue Academy, Gu Jiao was as serious as Gu Jiao was in this game. Pingyang Academy was in a complete mess because of her. Referee. He broke the rules. A student from Pingyang Academy complained. The referee walked over. Gu Jiao asked calmly, "Did I intercept you from the front?" She had been chasing after them from behind. "Did my horse touch your horses?" There was at least half a horse's length between them. "Is my cue interfering with you and your horses?" Golf club. You didn't even wave your golf club after entering the arena. Gu Jiao smirked evilly. Your horses are timid. Don't blame me. Wasn't this what Han Che had said to Tianqiong Academy just now? My horses didn't touch them. They were the ones who couldn't take the fright. They didn't expect Han Che's words to turn into a slap to their faces so quickly. Painful, really painful. This kid is good. On the spectators' stand, Second Master Jing couldn't help but praise Gu Jiao. It's that horse that's powerful. Muru Xian said. Anyone riding that horse would win. Second Master Jing frowned. He didn't agree with her words. Do you think anyone can ride that kind of wild horse? He was a martial artist. Years ago, when the Xianyuan family was on the decline, He had the opportunity to choose a black wind horse that belonged to him. His brother-in-law had asked him, "Do you want a horse that is easy to ride or a good horse?" He didn't understand at that time, but gradually understood later. It was a pity that he would never have the chance to tell his brother-in-law the real answer in his heart. Under Gu Jiao's and her horse's efforts, Pingyang Academy didn't score a single ball after 3 rounds. They finally managed to snatch a ball, and Han Che had already brought it to Tianqiong Academy's hole. Gu Jiao rode her horse and stopped there. Han Che's horse immediately turned around and ran. "Han Che, are the 3 of you going to snatch the ball?" Gu Jiao asked the 3 students from Pingyang Academy who were eyeing them covetously. The 3 students' mouths twitched. "You might not believe it, but I want to go over, but my horse won't." "Oh." Gu Jiao shrugged and sighed. "Thank you for letting me win." The 2 of them raised their chins and valiantly snatched the ball away. When the game was nearing its end, there was a shocking reversal in the numbers of both sides. From 12-2 to 12-20, Tianqiong Academy had 20 points. Everyone's focus shifted from who scored the ball to who would be the next one to be chased down. The faces of the students from Pingyang Academy turned green. They thought that with the black wind horse, there would be no mistakes. Who would have thought that the kid's horse would mess everything up? What kind of crazy beast was that horse? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964226/10769585. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 658. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with inner content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. What did it mean to live long enough to see? They were definitely watching Tianqiong Academy's bowler. They never knew that a bowler competition could be like this. In the first round, they had learned from Su Ping and used Su Ping to defeat Su Ping, which was already an eye-opener. They didn't expect to see something even more impressive today. Many of them came to watch the competition to see Xingdu's first young master, Mu Qingchen. However, they were all led astray by the freshman. In the last round, they were also led astray by him. Therefore, they were able to verify the saying, "What kind of bowler will raise what kind of horse?" The bowler was not normal, but this horse was not normal either. In the end, the people from Pingyang Academy were completely speechless. Their horses were scared away, but it was more terrifying if they were abducted by the kid's horse. Han Che tightened the reins. "No. Stop. Stop." Nay. Nay was useless. The Black Wind cavalry all ran after the Horse King. The Horse King grinned widely as it ran forward, panting loudly. "Come on. I'll take you flying." The bowlers from Tianqiong Academy could not bear to watch anymore. This horse was not their teammate. The people in the stands laughed so hard that their stomachs hurt. Those who didn't know horses would think that this horse was too powerful. Those who knew horses would understand that the person who could control it was even more eye-catching. In a pavilion with a beaded curtain on the east side of the stands, a man in a black robe sat upright and drank tea. A little to his right sat a man in an official's robe. "The horse is running so fast, but it didn't fall off. Who is that kid?" the man in the black robe asked. The man in the official's robe said respectfully, "Your Highness, I've seen this person before. He's Mu Qingchen's classmate. I heard that he's from a lower country and has a glib tongue. He once pretended to be a doctor and went to the High Duke's public house to cheat people." The man in the black robe said, "Is he the quack that Mu Qingchen brought to the High Duke's public house?" The man in the official's robe said, "Yes, it is." If Gu Jiao was here, she would definitely recognize him as Lord Xiao, who was in charge of capturing the assassins from the Crown Prince's residence. She had a grudge with Mu Qingqian, so when she found out that she had taken Mu Qingqian's token to the brothel in the inner city, she decisively stepped on her to accuse Mu Qingqian. It was also because of him that Gu Jiao openly went to the public house. The black-robed man said thoughtfully, "I think this person is quite capable. Don't beat him up just because you have a grudge with Mu Qingqian." Sir Xiao lowered his eyes. "Your Highness is right. This lad's horsemanship is indeed impressive." In other words, Gu Jiao's medical skills were indeed fake, and she wasn't the one who slandered Gu Jiao and Mu Qingqian when she went to the Duke's mansion to swindle people. The black-robed man seemed to be interested in that brat. Official Xiao was worried that he would ask for that brat's name. He didn't want anyone from Mu Qingqian's side to squeeze into His Highness' side. However, the black-robed man just picked up the cup on the table and took a sip of tea. He didn't ask anything else. The game ended with a score of 12-27. Tianqiong Academy had set a new record for the number of flags in a bowler game. Han Che's words, "In the second half, I won't let you get a single goal," had come true. However, it had come true on themselves. The dean of Pingyang Academy was sitting next to Dean Xiyan. He didn't look too good either. He sneered and said, "Tianqiong Academy is really capable. You specially got such a crazy horse for this game?" Dean Sun smiled and said meaningfully, "You're wrong. Tianqiong Academy's horsemanship isn't even half of Pingyang Academy's. You got 4 black wind riders. We were forced to use an untrained horse because we had no other choice." The dean of Pingyang Academy almost vomited blood. The horse was already so fierce without any training. If it was trained again, would it become a god? Don't show off like this. The Han clan was one of the top 4 aristocratic clans in the capital. Gu Jiao's horse had crushed the Han clan's black wind riders. After this game, the Han clan became famous. Han Che wanted to use Mu Qingqian as a stepping stone, but he ended up being used by Gu Jiao. Needless to say, Han Che was going to vomit blood when he went back. There were 5 more games left. After the 4th game, they would rest for 2 hours and continue in the afternoon. Change your clothes and go watch the next game. Maybe one of them will be our opponent next time, Wu Fuzi said to everyone in the attic. Everyone nodded and took their bags to change their clothes. There was only one room. As usual, Gu Jiao asked others to change first. Everyone thought she was shy and didn't suspect anything. After all, Mu Qingqian never changed his clothes in the same room as others. "You change first," Mu Qingqian said to Gu Jiao when only the 2 of them were left. "Okay." Gu Jiao entered the room. Click. It was the sound of the door being bolted. Mu Qingqian was speechless. After changing their clothes, they went to the stands of Tianqiong Academy. Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan sat next to Principal Xiyan. Their cheeks were red from the sun. Gu Jiao thought they looked cute. Her little brother was cute no matter how old he was. When Gu Jiao arrived, Gu Xiaoshan automatically gave up the seat next to her. He had always been sensible and wouldn't fight with anyone for Gu Jiao's seat. Besides, sitting on the other side of Gu Jiao was pretty good. He had no intention of monopolizing her. Gu Yan was sitting in a wheelchair, while Gu Jiao was sitting on a cushion. She was slightly shorter than him. Everyone in Tianqiong Academy knew that Xiao Lulang was Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshuan's fiancé. Why was he not fiancé? It was mainly to distance himself from Xiao Heng and prevent others from linking their identities. As for why they didn't directly distance themselves from him, it was because they didn't know that Gu Jiao was also here. Gu Xiaoshan had called him brother-in-law many times. Now, everyone present knew that Gu Jiao had a fiancé in Zhao country. This situation was normal. Yuan Xiao and Zhao Wei both had fiancés. One was betrothed before he was born, while the other was betrothed 3 years ago. 4th brother. Su Shui suddenly appeared in a pink uniform with a veil over her face. Su Shui's eyes were bright and her figure was slim. Even the veil couldn't hide her beauty. Even Zhao Wei and Yuan Xiao, who already had fiancés, couldn't help but be stunned. Then they were attracted by Xiao He, who was following behind her. The little guy was a little tanned, but his little face was really cute. His facial features were also very delicate, especially his big blinking eyes. They seemed to be able to speak just by looking at them. His eyelashes were also very long. He looked like a little eyelash fairy. Deanson recognized the little guy and waved at him with a smile. Jing Kong is here. Hello, Uncle Dean. Little Jing Kong greeted him politely. Deanson introduced him to Mu Qingchen and the others. You guys didn't come because you watched the last match in the attic. He's the little prodigy of Lingbo Academy. His name is Jing Kong. Hello, brothers. Little Jing Kong cupped his hands and bowed. Deanson liked this little guy. He pointed at Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshun. Come, this is brother Gu Yan, and this is brother Xiaoshun. You've met them before. Yes, we've met before. Hello, brother Yan. Hello, brother Xiaoshun. Little Jing Kong had traveled a long way with his bad brother-in-law. His acting skills were impeccable. When Deanson was about to introduce Gu Jiao, little Jing Kong said cutely, I know him. Uncle Dean pointed him out to me last time. Hello, brother Lulang. Gu Jiao said coldly, yes. Don't you have classes at the academy? Little Jing Kong said, our classes are over. The last class in the morning for the prodigy class was self-study. Little Jing Kong had many ways to get the teacher to let him out. Coincidentally, Su Shui happened to pass by their classroom, so he followed her here. This is... Mu Qingchen looked at little Jing Kong strangely. Su Shui said, he's the one I told you about. He's my roommate's younger brother. Although she didn't live in the dormitory, little Jing Kong sometimes went to their classroom to look for Xiao Hong. Therefore she knew Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong came to Gu Jiao. Brother Lulang, can I sit with you? Su Shui frowned. Little guy, didn't you say you wanted to sit with me? Little Jing Kong shrugged and said with a sigh, but you already have a brother. I don't. Su Shui was speechless. Little Jing Kong sat between Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Jiao. He was small so he could sit down easily. Mu Qingchen looked at Su Shui. His eyes were very serious. It was as if he was telling Su Shui that a girl like her shouldn't be here. Su Shui said confidently, I'm here to deliver Jing Kong. I have to bring him back later. She didn't come last time because she had something to do. This time she wouldn't miss it. It's okay. Deanson smiled. Shepherd boy, prepare a seat for Miss Su. Yes. The shepherd boy placed a cushion beside Mu Qingchen for Su Shui. Su Shui sat beside Mu Qingchen with a smile. Fourth brother. Her brother was here. Who could say anything? Moreover, the female teacher from Pingyang Academy was here too. Under such circumstances, there was no need to be too concerned about gender. The fourth match began. The two teams were Mount Song Academy and Purple Forest Academy. These two academies were very good at bowling. They were evenly matched and played very skillfully. There were no jaw-dropping scenes. Everything was normal. Both sides had broken a few rules and were penalized a few times. Everyone was a little confused. It was exciting, but why did they feel that something was wrong? On the opposite side of the stands, the Duke looked as if he had just gone through a terrible torture and was relieved of a burden. Muru Xian felt that it was strange. He stopped looking at the horse because it made him uncomfortable, but he kept staring at it. Although that horse was very eye-catching, that was all. The Duke was still watching, but his eyes weren't looking at the field below. Instead, they were on the opposite side of the stands. On the opposite side were the teachers and students from Pingyang Academy and Tianqiong Academy. Who was the Duke looking at? Mu Qingchen? There was a small accident in the 7th section of the 4th match. One of Mount Song Academy's bowler claimed that he was hit by the other team's cue stick. The other team denied it. In the end, the referee ruled that Black Bamboo Academy's bowler had broken the rules. Mount Song Academy's forfeit was a flag. The two teams were tied at 13. It was the last rest. Who do you think will win? Mu Chuan asked. Yuan Xiao said, Black Bamboo Academy. Their offense is more aggressive. Zhao Wei said, but they keep breaking the rules. This is the third forfeit. Guyan said, Mount Song Academy is lying. Yuan Xiao and Zhao Wei were stunned. Is that so? As soon as they finished speaking, the shepherd boy who went to the attic to fetch water hurriedly came up. Oh no! Mount Song Academy and Black Bamboo Academy are fighting. Conflicts in the field were not rare since ancient times. The group of people sat down and decided to go to the attic to take a look. The shepherd boy happened to be there and brought the news. The rest of the people on the stands did not know about it yet. The teacher of Pingyang Academy was puzzled. Why did everyone leave? Deemed Sin, Little Jingkong, Guyen, Su Shui, and Mu Chuan were left there. Mu Chuan was responsible for watching Su Shui and Little Jingkong. When the group of people arrived at the attic, the two sides were engaged in a fierce fight. The guards could not intervene. Archery was a sport that only the children of noble families could afford to play. The children of humble families could not even afford to buy a horse for archery. Moreover, these children of noble families had been practicing martial arts since they were young. How could ordinary bodyguards compare to them? Gu Jiao and Mu Qingchen walked over and separated the wrestlers from each other. Yuan Xiao and Zhao Wei helped the guards to restrain the people they threw at them. The scene was extremely chaotic. After everyone was separated, there were still people who wanted to riot. Mu Qingchen shouted, "Stop it, all of you. I won't be polite to anyone who dares to attack again." The two sides finally stopped. Everyone thought that everything was over. Who would have thought that the two sides would use their inner force to hit the wall at the back of the hall? The wall finally could not withstand the pressure and collapsed with a bang. On the other side of the collapsed wall, there were about 20 to 30 servants preparing tea for the attic and the entire grandstand. Mu Qingchen clenched his fists. "Look at what you've done." The wrestlers from Mount Song Academy and Black Bamboo Academy were stunned and ashamed. They were just fighting. They did not want to hurt innocent people. Gu Jiao glanced at the two sides and said, "Come and save them." Everyone began to save them. The wrestlers did not come to the stage, which naturally attracted the attention of the arena. Then the whole academy knew about the accident in the attic. Lingbo Academy had a doctor, but only one. The doctor came in time, but it was obvious that they did not have enough people. Gu Jiao said to Yuan Xiao, "Go find Gu Xiaoshan and ask him to bring me my first aid kit. Also, find someone to get a few stretchers." There were so many people. She did not know if the medicine in the first aid kit was enough. "If okay." Yuan Xiao answered and immediately went to do it. Gu Jiao said to Mu Qingchen, "There is not enough space in the hall. I need an open space." "Okay." Mu Qingchen took Zhao Wei and asked several guards of Lingbo Academy to use ropes to make a large open space outside the hall. Gu Xiaoshan came quickly. Gu Jiao's first aid kit was put in Gu Yan's basket one day in advance. In addition to the first aid kit, there were some medicine that Gu Yan needed. "Lulang. Here it is." Gu Xiaoshan stepped over the rope and came to Gu Jiao's side. At this time, there were two injured people who were dug out from under the rubble lying on the ground. Both of them had injured their legs. It was not too serious, but they needed immediate treatment. Gu Jiao reached for the first aid kit, but found that it was a small medicine box. "Eh? You brought the medicine box?" Gu Xiaoshan asked. "Didn't you put it on last night?" Gu Jiao shook her head. "I put it on the first aid kit." "Oh, I also brought the first aid kit." Gu Xiaoshan handed over the first aid kit in his other hand. Then he thought for a moment and said, "Maybe it was Gu Yan who put it on?" Digression temporarily changed the cover. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1076766164. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.